They say when a wolf loses their mate, they lose half their soul. But what happens when you lose a mate you never wanted? When the bond meant to complete you becomes the chain that nearly destroys you? My name is Sera Blackwood, and the night my fated mate rejected me in front of the entire Crescent Moon Pack, I didn't just lose my place in the world. I awakened something ancient, something forbidden, something that made the most powerful alpha in existence cross 3 territories to claim me as his own. Not out of love. Out of fear. Because the last time a she-wolf carried the Lunar Mark, she burned the werewolf world to ashes. And now, that mark was blazing silver on my skin. Chapter 1. The Rejection. The silver cord bit into Sera's wrists like frozen teeth. She knelt before the moon altar, her knees pressed against ancient stone that had witnessed 1,000 bond ceremonies and half as many rejections. The Crescent Moon Pack circled her, 400 wolves silent as death, their eyes reflecting torchlight like predators watching prey bleed out. This was supposed to be her bonding ceremony. Instead, it was her execution. Elder Thorn stood at the altar, his weathered hands trembling as he raised the ceremonial blade. The old wolf wouldn't meet her eyes. Couldn't. 3 days ago, he'd congratulated her on finding her fated mate. Now he was the one who'd sever that bond forever. Sera Blackwood. His voice cracked like dry wood snapping. You have been called before the pack to answer for your inadequacy. Your wolf is weak. Your bloodline unremarkable. You bring dishonor to the mate bond. The words should have hurt. They didn't. Sera had heard worse in the 6 months since she turned 21 and her wolf had finally emerged. Smaller than the others. Slower. A pale grey thing that could barely hold a shift for more than an hour. The pack had whispered at first, then the whispers had curdled into something uglier. Defective. Broken. A waste of a fated bond. But it was Marcus, standing at the edge of the circle with his arm wrapped around Vivian Price, who delivered the words that would end her. Marcus Kane. Beta's son. Golden-haired and sharp-jawed, with amber eyes that had once looked at Sera like she was moonlight itself. The mate bond had snapped into place the moment their eyes met at the spring hunt. She'd felt it like a hook in her chest, pulling her toward him with an intensity that stole her breath. He'd felt it too. She'd seen it in his face. For 3 perfect days, she'd thought the goddess had finally given her something good. A mate. A place to belong. Proof that she wasn't as worthless as the pack always made her feel. Then Vivian had returned from visiting her sister's pack. Beautiful, powerful Vivian, whose wolf was huge and silver-tipped, whose howl could make grown warriors drop their eyes in respect. The alpha's niece. Everything Sera wasn't. And Marcus had looked at Vivian the way he used to look at Sera. The way he'd never look at her again. I, Marcus Kane, reject you, Sera Blackwood, as my mate and my equal. His voice carried across the gathered pack, clear and cold. No hesitation. No regret. Sera's chest constricted. The bond, already frayed from weeks of his distance and cruelty, pulled taut like a wire about to snap. You are not fit to stand beside me. Marcus's amber eyes were empty of warmth. You are not fit to bear my mark. I sever our bond before the goddess and before this pack. The words slammed into her like physical blows. Pain exploded through her chest, radiating outward in waves that made her vision blur. The phantom thread between them, the bond that had felt like coming home, began to disintegrate. Fiber by fiber. Breath by breath. Vivian smiled. Not a cruel smile, exactly. Just satisfied. The smile of someone who'd won a prize she'd been eyeing. Elder Thorn raised the blade higher. Let your blood seal the rejection. Sera closed her eyes. Not in acceptance. Not in surrender. Because something inside her, something that had been sleeping since the day she was born, suddenly stirred. It uncurled in the depths of her chest like a beast waking from a long hibernation. Ancient. Vast. Furious. The blade came down. Her blood hit the Severance Stone. And the world stopped. Not metaphorically. Not symbolically. The air itself froze mid-breath. The flames in the ceremonial torches suspended mid-flicker. Even the moon seemed to hold its light, as if the goddess herself had paused to watch what came next. Then the stone began to glow. Not the dull grey of a broken bond. Not the pale white of a successful severance. It glowed silver. Pure, luminous, impossible silver. The light spread from the stone like liquid mercury, racing along the carved runes that circled the altar. Symbols that had stood for 3 centuries flared to life, burning brighter than they ever had. Brighter than they were ever meant to. Sera felt it then. Power. Not the gentle warmth of a mate bond. Not the wild freedom of a wolf's emergence. This was something else entirely. Something vast and crushing and hungry. It rose from the marrow of her bones, from the depths of her blood, from a place older than memory. It roared up her spine like lightning seeking sky, and when it reached her eyes, they snapped open. They weren't brown anymore. They were silver. Pure molten silver. The pack gasped as one. Wolves whimpered. Children buried their faces in their mothers' sides. Even Marcus took a step back, his cocky certainty faltering. But it was the presence at the edge of the gathering that made the air turn sharp. He hadn't been there a moment ago. No one had seen him arrive. No guard had announced him. But now he stood at the tree line, massive and utterly still, his silver eyes fixed on Sera with an intensity that made her bones ache. Alpha King Darius Stormborn. Ruler of the Northern Dominion. Commander of 12 territories. A wolf so powerful that his name alone made enemies surrender before battle began. He never attended pack ceremonies. Never interfered in territorial politics below his jurisdiction. Never showed interest in the broken or the weak. But he was here now. And he was smiling. Not a kind smile. Not reassuring or gentle. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted something unexpected. Something dangerous. Something that shifted the entire board. The silver light pulsed again, stronger this time. Sera's blood began to rise from the stone. Droplets lifted into the air, defying gravity, spinning slowly like planets around a dark sun. The air hummed with power. The ground beneath the altar trembled once. Twice. A heartbeat that didn't belong to anyone present. Elder Thorn fell to his knees. The Lunar Mark, he whispered, his face white as ash. Blessed goddess. It's the Lunar Mark. Panic rippled through the pack. Wolves shifted nervously. Warriors reached for weapons they hadn't brought. Alpha Luther Greyston, leader of Crescent Moon, stood frozen on his ceremonial platform, his face a mask of shock and terror. Silence. Darius's voice cut through the clearing like a blade through silk. He didn't shout. Didn't need to. Every wolf in the Crescent Moon Pack felt the command in their marrow and obeyed. The murmurs died instantly. Even Luther couldn't speak, his alpha authority crushed beneath the weight of a king's power. Darius stepped into the circle. The runes didn't burn him. They bowed. The silver light parted around his boots like water around stone. He moved with the casual grace of something apex, something so far above the food chain that fear was a concept it barely remembered. When he reached Sera, still kneeling, still bleeding, still glowing with impossible power, he extended one hand. His silver eyes drank her in. Assessed. Calculated. Decided. You, he said softly, his voice meant only for her ears, are coming with me. It wasn't a question. Wasn't a request. Sera looked up at him, her silver eyes meeting his. Through the chaos of power and pain, through the shattered remains of her rejected bond, she felt something else. Recognition. Like her soul knew his. Like they'd been circling each other for lifetimes, waiting for this exact moment. His hand remained extended. Patient. Inevitable. Behind him, Luther finally found his voice. Alpha King, she belongs to Crescent Moon. You have no right. I have every right. Darius didn't look away from Sera. Ancient law states that a Lunar Mark bearer falls under the jurisdiction of the Alpha King. She ceased being yours the moment her blood touched that stone. The Lunar Mark is a myth, Marcus said, his voice tight with something that sounded like fear. A story to scare pups. Does she look like a myth to you? Darius's question was almost amused. Sera's hand trembled as she reached for his. The moment their skin touched, something snapped into place. Not a bond. Not yet. But a connection. A thread that sang with potential and danger in equal measure. Darius pulled her to her feet with effortless strength. His thumb brushed across her wrist, right over her racing pulse, and his expression shifted. Softened. Just for a fraction of a second. Then it was gone, replaced by cold authority. This ceremony is over. He addressed the pack but kept Sera's hand firmly in his. The rejection stands. Marcus Kane is released from his bond. Sera Blackwood is now under my protection and my authority. You can't just take her, Vivian said, stepping forward. Her silver-tipped wolf was close to the surface, making her eyes glow. She's dangerous. Unstable. The Lunar Mark is none of your concern. Darius's voice dropped to something deadly. Unless you're volunteering to challenge my claim. Vivian's wolf retreated instantly. She lowered her eyes. No. Alpha King. Good choice. Darius turned to leave, pulling Sera with him. She stumbled, still weak from the rejection and the power surge. He steadied her without breaking stride, his hand moving to the small of her back. Possessive. Protective. As they walked through the parted crowd, Sera caught one last glimpse of Marcus. He was staring at her with dawning horror. Not because he regretted rejecting her. Because he just realized what he'd unleashed. Darius's convoy waited beyond the ceremony grounds. 3 black vehicles, windows tinted, engines running. Warriors in tactical gear stood at attention. At least 12 of them. Elite fighters with weapons meant to kill wolves. Overkill for one supposedly powerless girl. Unless they knew something she didn't. Darius opened the door to the lead vehicle himself, gesturing for her to enter. Sera hesitated. I could refuse, she said quietly. Make you drag me. His smile was sharp. You could. But you won't. How do you know? Because you're smart enough to realize that right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and every alpha in a 300-mile radius who's already mobilizing to either capture you or kill you. Sera's blood ran cold. What? The Lunar Mark, little wolf, isn't just power. It's a declaration of war. Every pack that felt that surge knows exactly what you are. And they're coming. He leaned closer, his silver eyes boring into hers. So you can come with me willingly and live. Or you can stay here and die before morning. Your choice. It wasn't really a choice. Sera climbed into the vehicle. Darius slid in across from her, and the door closed with a finality that made her stomach drop. The convoy began moving immediately, smooth and fast. In the silence, Sera became aware of 2 things. First, her wrists were bound. Not with rope. With cuffs that hummed against her skin, carved with runes identical to the ones on the moon altar. Suppression seals. The silver power that had exploded from her retreated, caged but not sleeping. She could still feel it coiled inside her chest, pressing against the barrier, curious and patient. Second, Darius hadn't stopped watching her. His silver eyes tracked every breath, every movement. Not with cruelty. With the intensity of someone trying to solve an impossible puzzle. You're not going to ask where we're going? His voice was smooth, controlled. The kind of calm that came from decades of command. Sera met his gaze. Her eyes had faded back to brown, but something in them had changed. Sharpened. Would it matter if I did? A ghost of amusement flickered across his face. No. The trees blurred past the tinted windows. Behind them, 2 more vehicles followed, each filled with his personal guard. Wolves handpicked for loyalty and lethality. Sera counted them earlier. 12 warriors for one supposedly powerless girl. Now she understood why. The cuffs, Sera said quietly, flexing her fingers. They're not just restraints. They're suppression seals. Observant. Darius leaned back, his massive frame somehow both relaxed and coiled. Like a predator at rest, but never truly off guard. They're also the only reason you're still breathing. Meaning when your blood hit that stone and the old magic answered, every alpha within 50 miles felt it. His expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Right now, there are at least 7 war parties mobilizing. 3 want to study you. 2 want to weaponize you. And 2 want you dead before you become the threat they fear you already are. Sera's stomach tightened. And you? His smile was cold. I want to understand what you are. Then I'll decide what to do with you. The words should have terrified her. Instead, they sparked something else. Defiance. The same defiance that had kept her standing through 6 months of the pack's contempt. Through Marcus's betrayal. Through the rejection that should have broken her. I'm not a weapon, she said. Everyone's a weapon if you know how to use them. Darius's silver eyes glinted. The question is whether you'll be wielded or whether you'll wield yourself. Is that supposed to be inspiring? It's supposed to be honest. They drove in silence for several minutes. Sera watched the familiar territory of Crescent Moon give way to neutral lands, then to the borders of the Northern Dominion. The landscape changed. Harsher. Colder. Mountains rose in the distance like broken teeth against the sky. How long have you known? Sera asked suddenly. About the Lunar Mark. About what I am. Darius was quiet for a long moment. Then, I didn't. Not for certain. But you suspected. I felt something when you turned 21. A shift in the old magic. Like a door opening that had been sealed for centuries. He studied her with unnerving focus. I've had scouts watching Crescent Moon ever since. Waiting to see if anything unusual happened. Marcus rejecting me was unusual enough. Marcus Kane is a fool. The words were flat, factual. Rejecting a fated mate is always dangerous. Rejecting one carrying dormant ancient magic? Darius shook his head. He's lucky he's still alive. The backlash should have killed him. Sera remembered the moment the bond snapped. The agony that had torn through her chest. It almost killed me. But it didn't. Instead, it woke something up. His gaze sharpened. Tell me, Sera Blackwood. Do you know what the Lunar Mark actually is? A myth. A story. You said it yourself, it makes alphas nervous. It's not a myth. It's a warning. Darius leaned forward, elbows on his knees. 300 years ago, a she-wolf named Elara bore the Lunar Mark. She could control other wolves. Not through dominance or pack bonds. Through pure will. She could break bonds, forge new ones, command entire packs with a thought. Sera's mouth went dry. What happened to her? She became a tyrant. Used her power to build an empire. By the end, she'd enslaved over 1,000 wolves. They called her the Silver Queen. His expression darkened. It took 5 Alpha Kings and a blood sacrifice to bring her down. After that, the goddess swore the Lunar Mark would never appear again. Apparently she changed her mind. Apparently. Darius sat back. Which is why you're now the most valuable and most dangerous wolf in existence. Every alpha who knows the old stories will want to either control you or eliminate you. There is no middle ground. The convoy pulled through a checkpoint. Massive iron gates groaned open, revealing a sprawling fortress carved into the mountainside. Shadow Peak Hold. It wasn't a palace. It was a war monument. Stone walls 3 feet thick. Guard towers every 50 yards. Warriors everywhere, patrolling, training, watching. This was a place built to withstand sieges. To weather wars. Home sweet home, Darius said with dry humor. They pulled into an inner courtyard. More warriors waited, forming a corridor from the vehicle to a reinforced doorway. Their eyes tracked Sera with wariness and curiosity in equal measure. Darius exited first, then offered his hand again. This time, Sera took it without hesitation. The moment her feet touched the ground, she felt the weight of hundreds of eyes. Not just the warriors. Somewhere in the fortress, dozens, maybe hundreds of wolves were watching. Waiting to see what the Alpha King had brought home. A scarred man approached. One eye was pale and blind, bisected by a vicious scar that ran from temple to jaw. But the other eye was sharp and amber, missing nothing. My beater, Dante, Darius said. He'll show you to your quarters. Quarters. Sera looked up at the towering fortress. That's a polite word for cell. Dante's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. The king's cells are in the lower levels. You're going to the guest wing. Trust me, there's a difference. Debatable, Sera muttered. Darius heard it. His hand tightened briefly on hers before he released her. Get settled. My healer will examine you in the morning. My scholars will want to speak with you after that. And if I refuse? He paused, his hand on the doorframe. When he looked back, there was something ancient in his eyes. Something that had seen empires rise and fall. You won't. The door closed with a finality that made her chest ache. Dante gestured toward the entrance. This way, Miss Blackwood. Just Sera. Sera, then. He started walking, and she had no choice but to follow. Fair warning, the king doesn't bring wolves to Shadow Peak lightly. You being here means you matter. Question is whether you matter enough to survive what's coming. What's coming? Dante's scarred face was grim. War, probably. Chaos, definitely. The last time someone bore the Lunar Mark, it took 100 years for the territories to recover. He glanced at her. No pressure, though. They walked through corridors of dark stone, lit by torches that cast dancing shadows. The fortress felt alive. Old. Like it had seen countless battles and remembered every one. Finally, Dante stopped at a heavy wooden door carved with protective runes. Your quarters. Reinforced windows, sealed exits. For your protection, the king says. He met her eyes. But we both know it's also to protect us from you. He wasn't wrong. Dante handed her a key, though she suspected the runes did more than any lock. Healer comes at dawn. Don't try anything stupid before then. Define stupid. His almost smile returned. I think you'll know it when you see it. He left, his footsteps echoing down the corridor until silence swallowed them. Sera entered her gilded cage. The room was beautiful. All dark wood and soft furs. A fireplace already crackling with warmth. A massive bed that could fit 4 people. Windows that showed the mountain vista, reinforced with more runes. It should have felt like luxury. Instead, it felt like a trap closing around her. Sera sank onto the bed, her body finally giving in to exhaustion. The rejection. The power surge. The kidnapping, because that's what this was, really, no matter how Darius dressed it up. She touched the suppression cuffs. They pulsed once, warm against her skin. And she felt it. The power inside her, pressing against the barrier. Not trying to break free. Not yet. Just exploring. Testing. Learning. What are you? She asked it silently. The power didn't answer in words. But she felt its response anyway. A whisper of recognition. Of purpose. I am what you were always meant to be. Sera closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling her under. Outside her window, the moon rose full and heavy, casting silver light across the fortress. And somewhere in the depths of Shadow Peak, Darius Stormborn stood alone in his private study, staring at reports flooding in from his scouts. Every pack in the territory was mobilizing. The girl in his fortress wasn't just powerful. She was the catalyst for war. Chapter 2, The Alpha King's Domain. Sera woke to the sound of shattering glass. Not in her room. Somewhere below, in the bowels of the fortress. The crash echoed through the stone walls, followed by shouting, then an abrupt, terrible silence. She sat up, her heart hammering. The suppression cuffs on her wrists pulsed with warning light, warm against her skin. But something else pulsed too. That power inside her, pressing harder against its cage. Responding to the violence she could feel thrumming through the fortress walls. Her door flew open. Darius stood in the doorway, dressed for battle in dark tactical gear, twin blades strapped to his back. His silver eyes found hers immediately, and even through the suppression cuffs, she felt it. Fear. Not of her. For her. Get up. Now. What's happening? Someone's here for you. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbing her arm and pulling her to her feet. And they brought an army. Before she could respond, an explosion rocked the western wall. The floor beneath them trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere close, wolves began to howl not in greeting, but in war. Darius's grip tightened on her arm. Stay close to me. Don't speak. Don't run. His silver eyes bored into hers. And for the love of the goddess, don't let that power loose. They moved through corridors filled with running warriors, all converging toward defensive positions. Through windows, Sera caught glimpses of chaos. The fortress's outer walls were under siege. Dozens of wolves, maybe more, their eyes glowing in the darkness as they threw themselves against the barriers. Not mindless. Organized. Tactical. Who are they? Sera gasped, struggling to keep pace with Darius's long strides. The Shadowfang clan. Mercenaries. He pulled her into a reinforced command center where maps and tactical displays covered every surface. They want what you are. Dante looked up from a communications array, his scarred face grim. North and east walls are holding. But they've got something unusual. Some kind of caster. Our defensive runes are failing. Darius's jaw tightened. How many? 40 fighters. Maybe more in reserve. Dante's amber eye flicked to Sera, something unreadable in his expression. They're not here to negotiate, my king. They're here to take her or kill her trying. A voice boomed from outside, magically amplified to carry across the entire compound. Darius Stormborn, surrender the girl and we leave in peace. Keep her, and we burn your fortress to ash. Sera's blood ran cold. She recognized that voice. Tyler Morse. A warrior from Crescent Moon Pack. She'd known him since childhood. He'd taught her how to track deer when she was 10. Had always been kind to her, in his gruff way. Now he'd come to drag her back. Or kill her. Darius moved to the window, his posture radiating lethal calm. Tell me, he said without looking at her. Did your former pack understand what they had? No, Sera whispered. They thought I was broken. They were idiots. He turned to face her fully, and for the first time, she saw not the distant king, but the predator beneath. The wolf who'd clawed his way to the top and stayed there through sheer, brutal will. The Shadowfang clan isn't acting alone. Someone told them about you. Someone with enough knowledge to understand what happened at that rejection stone. Elder Thorn, Sera breathed. He recognized the Lunar Mark. He could have. Another explosion. Closer this time. The lights flickered. Dante cursed. They've breached the outer courtyard. Darius made a decision with frightening speed. He turned to Sera, and before she could react, he reached for the suppression cuffs on her wrists. I need you to listen very carefully. His voice was low, urgent. What I'm about to do goes against every instinct I have. But if we're going to survive the next 10 minutes, you need access to your power. You said. I know what I said. His fingers hovered over the cuff's release mechanism. But 40 Shadowfang warriors, plus whatever dark magic they brought, will overwhelm us. Unless. He met her eyes. Unless you can do what I think you can do. I don't even know what I can do, Sera said, fear making her voice tight. Then we're about to find out together. He released the cuffs. The effect was instantaneous. Power exploded through Sera's body like a dam breaking. It roared up her spine, flooded her veins, set every nerve ending on fire. Her eyes flashed silver, brighter than before, luminous enough to cast shadows in the already lit room. The command center's lights exploded. Glass rained down. The windows cracked. And every wolf in the room, including Darius, dropped to one knee. They didn't choose to. Their bodies simply obeyed. Sera. Darius gritted out, fighting against the compulsion with visible effort. Veins stood out on his neck. You need to control it. Direct it. Not at us. At them. She could feel them. Every wolf in the fortress. Every heartbeat. Every breath. Like threads connected to her fingertips, waiting for her to pull. And beyond the walls, she felt the attackers. 40 threads burning with hostile intent, all converging on her location. It would be so easy. Just reach out. Pull. Make them stop. Make them kneel. Make them hers. The doors to the command center burst open. Tyler Morse stood there, flanked by 6 Shadowfang warriors. He looked different. Harder. Hungrier. His eyes locked on Sera, and recognition flickered across his face. Then something else. Greed. There you are. His voice was rough, eager. Did you really think the Alpha King could protect you, little Sera? He took a step forward. He's just a wolf. But you. His smile was cruel. You're something the old texts warned about. A Bloodborne. A wolf queen from the time before Alphas. Bloodborne. The word resonated in Sera's chest. The power recognized it. Responded to it. And you're going to make me the most powerful alpha in the territories, Tyler continued. He gestured to his warriors. Take her. Don't kill her. We need her intact. The 6 warriors attacked. Sera didn't mean to do it. She just thought, stop. Tyler froze mid-step. Not by choice. His body simply locked in place, every muscle rigid. His eyes widened in terror as he realized he couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't even breathe without her permission. The 6 warriors behind him leaped, claws extended, teeth bared. Sera raised one hand. They stopped mid-leap, suspended in the air like puppets with their strings pulled taut. She could feel their hearts pounding. Feel their wolves screaming inside them, clawing to break free. Feel the exact moment their loyalty to the Shadowfang clan shattered and reformed. Toward her. The warriors dropped to their knees in perfect unison. Heads bowed. Throats exposed. Submitting to a queen they'd come to kill. Sera stared at her hand, silver light crackling between her fingers. What did I? You claimed them. Darius rose slowly, his silver eyes wide with something between awe and fear. You overwrote their pack bonds. Made them yours. Horror flooded through her. I didn't mean to. I just wanted them to stop. Intent doesn't matter with the Lunar Mark. Desire does. You wanted them to stop attacking. Your power interpreted that as a need to control them. His voice was carefully neutral. Now they're bound to you. Permanently. Sera looked at the 7 wolves kneeling before her. Tyler and the 6 warriors. Their eyes had changed. No longer hostile. No longer even their own. They looked at her the way Pack looked at their alpha. With absolute, unshakable loyalty. She wanted to vomit. I didn't want this, she whispered. I don't want them. Doesn't matter, Dante said, hauling himself to his feet. He was bleeding from a cut on his temple, probably from when the windows shattered. A Bloodborne claim is permanent. They're yours now. Whether you want them or not. Through the broken windows, the sounds of battle had ceased. Sera realized why. Every Shadowfang warrior outside had felt what just happened. Felt 7 of their own suddenly ripped away and bound to something else. Someone else. The remaining mercenaries were retreating. Fast. Darius moved to the window, watching them flee into the darkness. They'll spread word of what you can do. By dawn, every alpha in the territories will know. He turned back to Sera, his expression unreadable. You just claimed 7 wolves without trying. Without even understanding what you were doing. His silver eyes held hers. Do you understand what that means? Sera's legs gave out. She would have hit the floor, but Darius was there, catching her. His arms wrapped around her, steady and warm, and through the contact, she felt something unexpected. Not fear. Not disgust. Understanding. And something deeper. Something that felt almost like. You're not alone in this, he said quietly, his mouth close to her ear. I won't let you face this alone. You should kill me, Sera whispered. Before I become what they fear. No. His arms tightened. I'm going to teach you to control it. To be more than what they expect. He pulled back enough to look at her face. You claimed 7 wolves by accident. Imagine what you could do with intention. With training. That's what scares me. Good. His smile was sharp. Fear will keep you careful. And careful is how you stay alive. Dante cleared his throat. My king, we need to secure the prisoners and tend the wounded. The outer walls need repairs. And the council. He grimaced. The council is going to want answers. Let them want. Darius's voice brooked no argument. Sera needs rest. Everything else can wait until dawn. He started to pull away, but Sera grabbed his wrist. The 7 wolves I claimed. Are they still themselves? Or did I erase who they were? Darius's expression softened. Just a fraction. They're still themselves. Still have their memories, their personalities. But their loyalty has been rewired at a fundamental level. They'll feel the need to protect you, serve you, die for you, if necessary. That's monstrous. That's survival. He gently removed her hand from his wrist, but his touch lingered. In this world, having wolves you can trust absolutely is the difference between living and dying. You didn't choose this power, Sera. But now that you have it, you need to decide how to use it. He turned to Dante. Put the 7 in the East Barracks. Post guards, but don't chain them. They're not prisoners. They attacked us, my king. And now they're hers. Which means they're under my protection too. Darius's tone made it clear the discussion was over. Move. Dante left, taking the 7 claimed wolves with him. They went willingly, their eyes never leaving Sera until they were out of sight. Tyler had been the last to leave. The man who'd taught her to track. Who'd come to capture her for money or glory or whatever the Shadowfang clan had promised him. He'd looked at her with eyes full of devotion that wasn't his own. And Sera had never felt more like a monster. Darius watched her, reading her expression with unnerving accuracy. You're thinking this makes you no better than the tyrants you've heard about. Doesn't it? The Silver Queen, Ilara, claimed over 1,000 wolves. And she did it intentionally. Methodically. He stepped closer. You claimed 7 by accident while defending yourself. There's a difference. Is there? Sera's voice broke. They can't leave. Can't choose to follow someone else. I took that from them. You took their freedom, yes. But you also bound yourself to them. Darius's silver eyes were intense. That bond goes both ways, Sera. You'll feel their pain, their fear, their deaths. And if you lose control, if the power consumes you, they'll die with you. Horror must have shown on her face, because he continued more gently. The price of the Lunar Mark isn't just power. It's responsibility. Every wolf you claim becomes a part of you. Their burdens become yours. He paused. That's why most Bloodborns throughout history went mad. Not from the power itself, but from carrying too many souls. Sera thought of the 7 wolves now bound to her. 7 lives she was responsible for. 7 threads wrapped around her heart. It was already suffocating. How many is too many? Darius was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. The records say Ilara had 1,000 before she broke. But she started with just 1. His jaw tightened. The first wolf she claimed was her mate. The one who betrayed her. Sera's chest ached. She thought of Marcus. Of the rejection that had awakened this curse. I won't claim anyone else, she said. I'll learn to control it. To stop it before it happens. That's what Ilara said. Darius's voice was soft, but the warning was clear. And for years, she kept that promise. Until the day she couldn't. He gestured toward the door. Come. You need food and rest. Tomorrow, my healer will examine you. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Sera followed him through the damaged command center, past warriors who stared at her with new wariness. They'd all felt her power. Felt themselves forced to kneel. They feared her now. The walk to her quarters felt longer than before. Darius stayed close, a solid presence at her side. Guards fell in behind them, silent shadows ensuring she didn't bolt. When they reached her door, Darius stopped. For the first time since the attack, he looked tired. The weight of leadership, of constant vigilance, showed in the lines around his eyes. Get some sleep, he said. Dawn comes early, and tomorrow won't be easier than today. Darius. His name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. Thank you. For not killing me when you had the chance. His smile was sad. The night's not over yet. But there was no threat in his words. Just honesty. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Sera Blackwood, I don't think you're a monster. Monsters don't feel guilty about the damage they cause. What am I, then? Dangerous. His silver eyes met hers. But so am I. Maybe that's why the goddess put you in my path. He left before she could respond. Sera entered her room, her beautiful cage, and locked the door behind her. Not that it would keep anyone out if Darius decided she was too much of a threat. But it gave her the illusion of control. She moved to the window, looking out over the fortress. Below, warriors worked to repair the damaged walls. Torches lit the courtyard where Dante was organizing patrols. And in the east barracks, 7 wolves she'd accidentally enslaved were settling in for the night. She could feel them. Not their thoughts, exactly. But their presence. Like distant heartbeats echoing in time with her own. Tyler's confusion and acceptance. A female warrior's quiet relief at no longer being masterless. Another's simmering anger that was already fading, replaced by loyalty Sera hadn't earned. The weight of 7 souls pressed against her consciousness. How had Ilara carried 1,000? Sera touched the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Her eyes were brown again, but she could see the difference. Something ancient looked back at her. Something that had been sleeping for 300 years. I won't become you, she whispered to the ghost of the Silver Queen. I'll find another way. The power inside her didn't respond. But somewhere in the fortress, Darius stood in his private study, staring at a portrait he'd hidden away years ago. A woman with silver eyes and dark hair, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Ilara Stormborn. The Silver Queen. His great-great-grandmother. The woman who'd nearly destroyed the werewolf world. And now her power had awakened in a girl who looked so much like her, it made his chest ache. Darius touched the portrait, his fingers tracing the painted silver mark on Ilara's neck. She's not you, he said to the image. She won't make your mistakes. But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at him. Because Ilara had been kind once. Gentle. Had used her power to heal, not harm. Until the day she couldn't anymore. Until the power had consumed her completely. Darius's hand dropped to his side. He turned away from the portrait, from the ghost of family shame, and looked at the reports covering his desk. Every alpha in the territories was mobilizing. Some wanted Sera captured. Others wanted her dead. A few, the most dangerous ones, wanted to control her. War was coming. And Sera Blackwood, the accidental Bloodborne, was the spark that would ignite it. Darius picked up a pen and began writing orders. Reinforcements. Supplies. Defensive positions. He'd protect her. Not because the law demanded it. Not because she was valuable. But because something in him, something deep and primal, recognized her as his. Not a possession. Not a weapon. His equal. And Darius Stormborn protected what was his. Even if it meant going to war with every alpha in existence. Outside, the moon hung heavy in the sky, full and watching. The goddess's eye on her children, waiting to see if history would repeat itself. Or if this time, her chosen Bloodborne would forge a different path. In her room, Sera finally collapsed onto the bed, exhaustion pulling her under. She dreamed of silver light and ancient altars. Of a woman who looked like her, standing over a field of kneeling wolves, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And in the dream, Sera understood. Ilara hadn't wanted to be a tyrant. She'd just been trying to survive in a world that gave her no other choice. Sera woke with tears on her cheeks and a terrible certainty in her heart. She was standing at the same crossroads Ilara had stood at 300 years ago. And the wrong choice would doom them all. Chapter 3. The Healer's Discovery. Dawn came too early. Sera woke to a soft knock on her door, her body aching from restless sleep filled with dreams of silver light and kneeling wolves. For a moment, she thought she was back in her small room at Crescent Moon, about to face another day of whispers and contempt. Then she saw the runic symbols carved into the ceiling. Felt the 7 threads humming in her chest. Remembered everything. Lady Sera? A female voice, gentle but firm. I'm old Mother Cassian. The king sent me to examine you. Sera dragged herself upright, her muscles protesting. "Come in." The door opened to reveal a woman who looked ancient and ageless simultaneously. White hair braided with silver charms. Eyes the color of storm clouds. She moved with the careful grace of someone whose bones had seen too many winters, but whose mind remained sharp as a blade. Behind her stood 2 guards, hands on their weapons. Always the guards. "You can wait outside," Cassian said, her voice carrying unexpected authority. "The girl won't hurt me," the king said. "I know what the king said. I changed his diapers when he was a pup. I think I can handle one frightened she-wolf." The old woman's eyes twinkled. "Out." The guards exchanged glances but obeyed. The door closed, leaving Sera alone with the healer. Cassian set down a worn leather satchel and studied Sera with unnerving intensity. "You look like her." "Like who?" "Ilara. The Silver Queen." Cassian moved closer, her gaze cataloging every detail. "Same eyes. Same bone structure. Same silver mark blooming on your neck." Sera's hand flew to her throat. She felt it then, a warmth beneath her skin, right where her pulse beat strongest. When she looked in the mirror across the room, she saw it. A silver crescent moon, glowing faintly against her skin. "That wasn't there yesterday," Sera whispered. "The mark reveals itself in stages. First in the eyes. Then on the neck. Eventually, it will spread down your arms if you continue to use the power." Cassian pulled a stool close and sat, her ancient joints creaking. "May I?" She held out her hand. Sera hesitated, then extended her own. Cassian's touch was warm, her fingers rough with age. She pressed 2 fingers to Sera's wrist, feeling her pulse. Her eyes closed. For a long moment, the only sound was the crackling fire. Then Cassian's eyes snapped open, wide with shock. "Blessed goddess." "What?" Sera tried to pull her hand away, but the old woman's grip tightened. "Your wolf. It's not weak at all. It never was." Cassian's voice trembled. "It was dormant. Deliberately dormant. Protecting you from the Lunar Mark's awakening until you were strong enough to survive it." Sera's breath caught. "What?" "Most Bloodborns awaken at puberty. 13, 14 at the latest. The power consumes them before they understand what they are." Cassian released her hand, her expression grave. "But your wolf held back. Suppressed itself. Waited until you were 21, fully mature, before allowing the mark to surface. I don't understand. Why would my wolf?" "Because it knew. Somewhere deep in your bloodline's memory, your wolf understood that awakening too early would kill you. So it made itself seem weak. Made the pack think you were defective." Cassian's smile was sad. "Your wolf saved your life by sacrificing your happiness." The revelation hit Sera like a physical blow. 6 months of mockery. 6 months of being called broken, defective, worthless. And all along, her wolf had been protecting her. "Marcus rejecting me," Sera said slowly. "That's what triggered it. The trauma, the pain. Shattered the final barrier." "Yes." Cassian began unpacking her satchel, pulling out vials of silvery liquid and crystals that pulsed with soft light. "Rejection is one of the most primal wounds a wolf can suffer. Your wolf couldn't suppress the mark anymore. Not through that level of agony." She placed a single drop of the silvery liquid on Sera's wrist. The liquid didn't absorb. It recoiled, beading up and rolling off her skin like water off oil. Cassian went pale. "Blessed Luna. What does that mean?" The healer's hands trembled as she packed away her supplies. "It means the magic in you isn't just old. It's primordial. The kind that existed before packs, before alphas, before the first wolf ever shifted under the moon." She met Sera's eyes, and for the first time, Sera saw fear in the ancient woman's face. "The kind that built the world." Cassian's voice dropped to a whisper. "And destroyed it." Before Sera could respond, the door burst open. Darius stood there, his silver eyes blazing. "What did you find?" Cassian rose, her movement stiff. "The girl is exactly what you feared, my king. And worse." "How worse?" "The last Bloodborne, Ilara, had power over bonds." She could break them, forge them, control them. Cassian gestured to Sera. This one's power is deeper. Older. She doesn't just influence bonds. She can rewrite them at a fundamental level. Change what a wolf is at their core. Darius's expression didn't change, but through some connection Sera didn't understand, she felt his reaction. Terror. Absolute, primal terror. The 7 wolves she claimed last night, Cassian continued. They're not just loyal to her. They're changed. I examined them this morning. Their pack bonds, their family connections, even their mate bonds, all of it has been rewired. They don't remember choosing to follow her. As far as their souls are concerned, they've always belonged to her. Sera's stomach turned. That's not true. Tyler knew me. He came here to capture me. He wasn't always mine. His mind remembers. But his soul doesn't. Cassian's voice was gentle but merciless. That's what makes you more dangerous than Alara ever was. She enslaved wolves. You absorb them. Make them extensions of yourself. No. Sera stood, her hands shaking. No, I didn't mean to. Intent doesn't matter. Darius's voice was flat, emotionless. The voice of a king making impossible calculations. Only results do. He moved into the room, dismissing Cassian with a gesture. The old woman left quickly, but not before giving Sera a look filled with pity. The door closed. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. You're going to kill me, Sera said. Not a question. I should. Darius moved to the window, his back to her. Every tactical instinct I have says you're too dangerous to live. That I should execute you now, before you claim anyone else. Before you become what Cassian fears you'll become. Then why haven't you? He turned to face her, and the raw honesty in his expression made her breath catch. Because I made a mistake once. A long time ago. His silver eyes were distant, haunted. I let fear guide me instead of wisdom. And it cost me everything. He took a step closer. 15 years ago, I had a mate. Her name was Isla. She was human. Kind. She softened the edges the crown had sharpened. Sera's chest tightened. What happened to her? I kept her at a distance. Thought it would protect her from my enemies if they believed I didn't care as much as I did. His jaw clenched. Instead, it made her vulnerable. They took her because they knew I wouldn't see it coming. Wouldn't believe the great Alpha King could be hurt through something as simple as love. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. They sent me her heart in a silver box. Sera's hand flew to her mouth. I slaughtered the pack responsible. Every single wolf. Children. Elders. Didn't matter. His voice was hollow. And when it was done, when I stood in the ashes of my revenge, I realized the real enemy had been my own fear. My own pride. He reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek with surprising gentleness. I won't make that mistake again. I won't destroy you because I'm afraid of what you might become. I'll give you the chance Isla never got. The chance to prove fear wrong. Sera's throat tightened. What if Cassian's right? What if I can't control this? Then we'll face it together. His thumb traced her jawline. But I won't kill you for crimes you haven't committed. For monsters you haven't become. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Sera couldn't name. Something that felt like the beginning of a bond that had nothing to do with the Lunar Mark and everything to do with choice. Then Darius stepped back, the king's mask sliding back into place. But make no mistake, Sera Blackwood. If you lose control, if you become the tyrant they fear, I will be the one to end you. His silver eyes were hard. And it will break something in me. But I'll do it anyway. I understand. Good. He moved toward the door. Get dressed. You're coming with me. Where? His smile was sharp. To meet the Council of Alphas. They've called an emergency session. Guess what it's about? Sera's blood ran cold. They're going to demand my execution. Probably. But they're also going to hear why that's not happening. He paused at the door. Wear something that makes you look powerful. Not broken. These wolves respond to strength. He left. Sera stood alone in the room, her reflection staring back at her from the mirror. The silver crescent moon on her neck pulsed gently. 7 threads hummed in her chest. And somewhere deep inside, the Lunar Mark whispered promises of power she didn't want. You could make them all kneel, it said. Make them love you. Make them yours. Sera closed her eyes against the temptation. I am not Alara, she told her reflection. I will not become her. But the Mark only laughed. Because that's what Alara had said too. Right before she'd claimed her 1000th wolf. Chapter 4, The Council's Decree. The council chamber was built to intimidate. Carved from black stone and lit by torches that cast dancing shadows, the circular room held 13 thrones, one for each territorial alpha. Darius's throne sat at the north point, elevated slightly above the rest. A reminder of his supremacy. But tonight, as Sera stood in the center of the circle with all 13 alphas staring down at her, that supremacy felt fragile. She'd dressed carefully, choosing dark leather pants and a fitted jacket that Lyra, the young servant girl, had brought her. Simple. Functional. The clothing of a warrior, not a victim. But standing here, surrounded by the most powerful wolves in the territories, Sera felt anything but powerful. She felt like prey. This is the Bloodborne. Alpha Cassius of the Eastern Peaks leaned forward, his weathered face twisted in disgust. She looks like a frightened child. Appearances deceive, Cassius. Darius's voice carried effortlessly from his throne. As 40 Shadowfang warriors learned when they tried to take her by force. Murmurs rippled through the council. Sera kept her spine straight, her hands loose at her sides. Darius had coached her during the journey here. Don't show fear. Don't show anger. Show nothing but calm control. Make them wonder what you're capable of. You claimed Shadowfang wolves, girl. Alpha Vivienne Blackthorn spoke next, her voice sharp as a blade. Ancient and cunning, with eyes like frozen lakes. Overwrote their bonds. Made them yours. That's an act of war against their alpha. Their alpha sent them to kill me, Sera said, her voice steadier than she felt. I defended myself. By enslaving them? Cassius spat. That's not defense. That's abomination. Enough. Darius's single word silenced the room instantly. Every wolf felt the command in their marrow and obeyed. We're not here to debate semantics. We're here to address reality. A Bloodborne walks among us. The question is what we do about it. Kill her. The voice came from the Western throne. Alpha Maxwell, young and ambitious, his eyes gleaming with poorly hidden fear. The old laws are clear. Bloodborns are too dangerous to exist. We execute them before they can build their armies. Several alphas nodded agreement. Sera felt the Lunar Mark stir inside her, responding to the threat. It would be so easy. Just reach out. Touch their minds. Make them see her as something other than a threat. Make them love her. Make them kneel. No, she told the power firmly. Not yet. Not like this. The old laws, Darius said softly, dangerously, also forbid what half of you are doing right now. Trafficking. Territory manipulation. Unsanctioned challenges. His silver eyes swept the council. Shall we enforce all the old laws? Or just the ones convenient to your fear? Silence. Dangerous and thick. Then Alpha Vivienne stood, her movements elegant and deliberate. I propose a test. She descended from her throne, circling Sera like a predator assessing prey. If the girl can prove she has control, that she won't become the monster history warns us about, then perhaps we allow her to live. Under supervision. What kind of test? Sera asked, proud that her voice didn't shake. Vivienne's smile wasn't kind. Remove her suppression cuffs. Oh wait, she doesn't have them anymore, does she? Her eyes glinted. Put her in a room with 12 unmated wolves. If she can resist claiming even one of them for a full hour, she lives. And if she fails? Darius's tone had gone cold. Then she's exactly what we fear. And we end this before it begins. The other alphas murmured approval. It was elegant. Cruel and elegant. Unmated wolves were the most vulnerable to bloodborne influence. Their souls ached for connection, for pack, for belonging. They'd be like magnets to Sera's power. Resisting them for an hour would be nearly impossible. Which was exactly the point. I accept, Sera said before Darius could object. His head snapped toward her, silver eyes blazing. Through whatever connection existed between them, she felt his fury. His fear. Trust me, she tried to convey. Please. His jaw tightened, but he nodded slowly. Very well. But I supervise the test personally. Any deviation from the agreed parameters, and the test ends immediately. Agreed, Vivienne purred. They brought Sera to a reinforced chamber deep beneath the council building. 12 wolves waited inside, 6 male, 6 female. All young. All unmated. All staring at her with a mixture of fear and desperate hunger. She could feel their bonds. Or rather, the lack thereof. Empty spaces where pack connections should be. Holes in their souls that ached to be filled. The Lunar Mark recognized that emptiness. Wanted to fill it. Vivienne removed the suppression cuffs herself, her cold fingers lingering on Sera's wrists. 1 hour, she said. Starting now. The door sealed shut with a finality that made Sera's heart race. Darius stood in the observation room above, his hands pressed flat against the reinforced glass. She could feel his presence like a weight. An anchor. The 12 wolves remained still, but she felt their attention. Felt their wolves rising to the surface, drawn to the power radiating from her. The Lunar Mark unfurled immediately, eager and hungry. It reached for them like a predator scenting prey. She could feel their souls, exposed and vulnerable. Empty spaces begging to be filled. So easy. Just a thought. Just a flex of will. These 12 could be hers. Would protect her. Serve her. Die for her if needed. No, Sera gritted her teeth. I won't. One of the male wolves, sandy-haired with amber eyes, took a step forward. You won't last, he said, his voice rough. The pull is too strong. Every bloodborne in history eventually broke. Then I'll be the first who doesn't, Sera managed through clenched teeth. 10 minutes in, sweat beaded on her forehead. The power pushed harder, showing her how simple it would be. Just reach out. These wolves were suffering without pack bonds. She'd be helping them. Giving them what they needed. 20 minutes. Her hands shook. She could feel their hearts beating. Feel their wolves pacing inside them. Feel the exact moment their defenses would crack if she just pushed a little harder. 30 minutes. One of the female wolves whimpered. She's so strong, the woman whispered. I can feel her trying to get in. I'm not trying, Sera gasped. I'm trying not to. But it was getting harder. The Lunar Mark had tasted claiming wolves. It wanted more. Needed more. Like an addiction she'd never consented to. 40 minutes. Sera's vision blurred. The mark burned on her neck, silver light bleeding through her skin. The 12 wolves swayed, their eyes glazing as her power pressed against their defenses. Just a little more pressure. Just a tiny push. They'd be safe then. Protected. Hers. 45 minutes. And then Sera felt it. Something else pushing back. Not from the 12 wolves. From above. From Darius. She didn't understand how. He wasn't bloodborne. Shouldn't be able to touch the power. But somehow, his presence slid between her and the vulnerable wolves. Not blocking her entirely. Supporting her. Sharing the burden. How? She whispered through whatever connection existed between them. His voice came through the observation room speaker, but she also felt it deeper. In her chest. In her soul. Bloodborns aren't meant to fight their nature alone. The old texts mention anchors. Wolves strong enough to help carry the weight. You'll exhaust yourself, she said. Then we exhaust together. The hour crawled past. 50 minutes. 55. Sera's knees buckled, but she stayed upright. Darius's presence was the only thing keeping her from drowning in the power. 60 minutes. The door opened. None of the 12 wolves bore her mark. All were unclaimed. Sera collapsed. Darius caught her before she hit the ground, moving with inhuman speed. His arms wrapped around her, solid and warm, and through their connection, she felt everything he'd been holding back. Relief, pride, and something deeper. Something that felt dangerously close to. She passed, Elder Magnus Ironwood said, his ancient voice carrying authority. The girl has more control than any Bloodborne in recorded history. The council filed in to verify. Checked each of the 12 wolves. All unclaimed. All free. Murmurs of shocked approval rippled through the gathered alphas. But Sera barely heard them. Because she felt something else. Something new. A bond. Golden and strong and impossibly deep. Between her and Darius. He'd anchored her. And in doing so, had tied himself to her at a level deeper than pack bonds. Deeper than mate bonds. Their eyes met across the room. He felt it too. She saw the recognition in his silver gaze. The acceptance. Darius Stormborn, the king who'd sworn never to bond again, had just bound himself to her. Not through compulsion. Through choice. And as Vivienne announced the council's decision, Sera could live. Under strict supervision, Sera realized something that made her heart race with equal parts hope and terror. The true Alpha King's crown wasn't sitting on his head anymore. It was beginning to rest on both of them. Chapter 5. The Golden Thread. The bond hit Sera 3 hours later. She was back in her quarters, trying to process everything that had happened, when it struck like lightning through her chest. Not painful. Not unwelcome. But overwhelming in its intensity. She could feel Darius. Not just sense his presence in the fortress. Feel him. His emotions bled through the connection like watercolors bleeding together. Concern for his territory. Frustration with council politics. And underneath it all, a bone-deep exhaustion he'd never show anyone else. Except now he couldn't hide it from her. Sera pressed her hand to her chest, over her racing heart. What did we do? A knock at her door. She knew who it was before she opened it. Darius stood in the hallway, his silver eyes turbulent. We need to talk. About the bond. About the bond. He entered without waiting for invitation, and Sera closed the door behind him. The guards outside didn't protest. They'd learned quickly that the Alpha King did what he wanted. Darius moved to the window, putting distance between them. But Sera felt his awareness of her through the bond. Felt the way his pulse jumped when she was close. This shouldn't be possible, he said, his voice tight. I'm not Bloodborne. I shouldn't be able to anchor you. But you did. But I did. He turned to face her. And now we're connected at a level I don't fully understand. I can feel you, Sera. Your emotions. Your fear. Your determination. His jaw clenched. Your power. Sera felt it too. Through the bond, she could sense his wolf, massive, silver-touched, ancient. It recognized her. Acknowledged her as something equal. Cassian examined me after the test, Darius continued. She said the bond is unprecedented. Not a mate bond. Not a pack bond. Something else entirely. What does she think it is? A crown bond. He said the words like they tasted bitter. The kind that existed between the first alphas and their queens. Before the hierarchy became what it is now. Before power was concentrated in one wolf instead of two. Sera's breath caught. Queens. As in equal rulers. Partners in power. Darius's silver eyes held hers. The bond tied us together, Sera. What affects you affects me. If you die, I die. If you lose control, I lose control. You should have told me, Sera said, anger sparking. Before you anchored me. Before you bound us together. There wasn't time. You were drowning, and he stopped, running a hand through his dark hair. I wasn't thinking tactically. I was thinking emotionally. Which is exactly the mistake I swore I'd never make again. The vulnerability in his voice made Sera's anger drain away. She moved closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating from him. Do you regret it? I should. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along her jawline. Every logical part of me says I should. But I don't. The air between them charged with something electric. Something that had nothing to do with ancient magic and everything to do with the two wolves standing in this room. Darius. The moment shattered as alarms blared through the fortress. Darius's head snapped toward the door, his entire body shifting into warrior mode. Through the bond, Sera felt his instant assessment. Threat. Close. Immediate. The door burst open. Dante stood there, blood on his face. We're under attack. Northern border. It's not mercenaries this time, my king. His scarred face was grim. It's Alpha Ronan Ashcroft. And he brought his entire pack. Sera had never seen a pack mobilize for war. Shadow Peak transformed in minutes. Warriors flooded the courtyard, armed and organized with terrifying efficiency. Archers took positions on the walls. Scouts dispersed to gather intelligence. Healers prepared the medical wing. Darius commanded it all with calm precision, issuing orders that were instantly obeyed. This was what he was built for. Battle. Strategy. The brutal calculus of war. But Sera felt his other emotions through the bond. The ones he hid from his pack. Fear for his wolves. Rage at Ronan for forcing this. And underneath it all, a desperate need to protect her. You're staying in the fortress, Darius said, strapping on armor. Dante will guard you personally. I can help. No. His voice was absolute. Ronan came here for you. If he sees you on the battlefield, it'll escalate. He'll sacrifice every wolf in his pack to get to you. Through the bond, Sera felt the truth of his words. And the unspoken fear beneath them. If Ronan gets you, if he forces a mate bond or kills you, the backlash will destroy me too. Then let me use the Lunar Mark, Sera said. I can end this without bloodshed. Make his wolves see reason. And become exactly what they fear. Darius's silver eyes blazed. Use the mark in war, and every alpha in the territories will unite against us. Is that what you want? I want to help. Then stay alive. That's how you help. He moved to the door, then paused. His hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. I will come back to you. I promise. Through the bond, she felt his certainty, his determination, and his terror that this might be the last time he saw her. Darius left. Sera stood in the empty room, feeling his presence move farther away. Toward the battle. Toward danger. Dante appeared in the doorway. Come with me. Safe room in the lower levels. I'm not hiding while people die for me. You're not hiding. You're surviving. There's a difference. Dante's scarred face softened slightly. He needs you alive, Sera. Don't take that from him. Something in his voice made her pause. You lost someone too. In battle. My sister. She insisted on fighting when she should have stayed safe. Thought she was helping. His amber eye was haunted. She was wrong. And I watched her die because of it. Sera followed him to the safe room, a reinforced chamber deep underground, warded with enough runes to make her skin prickle. Stay here, Dante said. Don't open the door for anyone but me or the king. He left, sealing the door behind him. Sera was alone with her thoughts. And with 7 threads in her chest that grew more agitated by the second. Her claimed wolves were in the fortress. She could feel them, scattered across the defenses. Tyler was on the eastern wall. The female warrior, whose name she'd learned was Myra, was in the armory. The others were positioned strategically throughout Shadow Peak. All of them ready to die protecting their home. Protecting her. Through the bond with Darius, Sera felt the battle begin. The clash of wolves. The scent of blood on snow. Ronan's pack hit the northern wall with devastating force, 200 warriors, well-trained and ruthless. Darius's defenses held. Barely. Then Sera felt something else. Pain. Sharp and sudden. Not hers. Darius. Through the bond, she saw through his eyes for a split second. Ronan himself, massive and scarred, his jaws closing around Darius's shoulder. The crunch of bone. The taste of blood. The bond flared with Darius's pain, and Sera screamed. Her power erupted. The Lunar Mark blazed to life, silver light exploding from her skin. The wards on the safe room shattered like glass. And Sera felt every wolf in a mile radius. Darius's warriors. Ronan's attackers. Her 7 claimed wolves. Hundreds of threads, all burning with life and death and desperation. Stop, the Lunar Mark whispered. End this. Save him. Save them all. It would be so easy. Just reach out. Touch those threads. Make Ronan's wolves lower their weapons. Make them kneel. Sera's hand rose, power crackling around her fingers. One thought. One flex of will. And the battle would end. But she'd claim 200 more wolves in the process. Become exactly what they feared. Exactly what Ilara had been. Through the bond, she felt Darius's awareness of her power surge. Felt his desperate plea. Don't. Please, Sera. Don't do this. You're dying, she whispered to the empty room. To the bond. To him. I've survived worse. But you won't survive becoming her. Don't give them this. Don't give them proof that you're a monster. Sera's hand trembled. The power pushed against her control, demanding release. Save him. Save them all. What did it matter if she claimed a few hundred wolves if it meant Darius lived? It matters, his voice came through the bond, weak but certain. Because you're better than this. Better than me. Better than what this world tried to make you. Sera felt tears streaming down her face. She lowered her hand. The power retreated, screaming in protest. It wanted to be used. Needed to be used. But Sera forced it back into its cage. I won't, she gasped. I won't become her. Through the bond, she felt Darius's relief. His pride. His love, because that's what it was, raw and real and terrifying. Then she felt him rise. Felt his wolf surge to the surface. Felt him throw Ronan off and counter with savage precision. The tide of battle shifted. Darius's warriors, inspired by their king's ferocity, pushed back. The northern wall held. Ronan's wolves began to falter. And Sera realized something that made her chest ache. Darius was fighting harder because she'd chosen restraint. Because she'd proven she could hold the power back even when it meant risking him. He wasn't just fighting for territory or pride. He was fighting to be worthy of her choice. The battle raged for another hour. Sera felt every moment through the bond. Every wound Darius took. Every warrior who fell on both sides. Finally, it ended. Not with victory or defeat. With Ronan's retreat. His pack had lost too many. Couldn't sustain the assault. They withdrew, leaving bodies and blood and broken defenses in their wake. Sera felt Darius's exhaustion crash over him like a wave. Felt his legs nearly give out before Dante caught him. She was moving before she thought about it. Out of the safe room. Through corridors filled with wounded warriors. Past healers who tried to stop her. She found him in the main hall, surrounded by his beater and commanders. Blood soaked his armor. His shoulder hung at an unnatural angle where Ronan had bitten him. But he was alive. Their eyes met across the room, and everything else fell away. Sera ran to him. Darius caught her with his good arm, pulling her against his chest despite the pain it must have caused. Through the bond, she felt his relief. His joy. His absolute certainty that letting her go would kill him faster than any wound. You didn't use it, he murmured against her hair. You could have saved me. Could have ended this. But you didn't. I couldn't become what they fear. Not even for you. Especially not for me. He pulled back enough to look at her face, his silver eyes bright. Do you know what you just proved, Sera Blackwood? That I'm a fool who almost let you die. His laugh was rough, exhausted. That you're exactly what I hoped you were. What I knew you were the moment I saw you at that altar. What's that? Mine. He kissed her forehead, gentle despite the blood and pain. And I'm yours. For whatever that's worth. Through the bond, Sera felt the truth of it. The crown bond had cemented what their hearts already knew. They weren't just Alpha King and Bloodborne. They were partners. Equals. Two halves of something that hadn't existed in 300 years. Cassian appeared, her ancient face creased with worry. My king, you need healing. That shoulder. We'll wait. But Darius let Sera help him to the medical wing, his weight heavy against her side. She stayed with him while Cassian worked. Felt every moment of pain as the healer reset his shoulder. Gritted her teeth through his agony as if it were her own. Because through the crown bond, it was. When it was done, when Darius was bandaged and medicated and finally allowed to rest, he pulled Sera onto the bed beside him. Sleep, he commanded softly. We both need it. Ronan will come back. Probably. But not tonight. His arm wrapped around her, careful of his injuries. Tonight, we rest. Tomorrow, we plan. Through the bond, Sera felt his mind already working. Strategy. Alliances. Ways to protect his territory and the dangerous Bloodborne he'd bound himself to. But underneath it all, she felt something else. Peace. For the first time in 15 years, since Isla's death, Darius Stormborn felt at peace. Because he wasn't alone anymore. Sera closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her back. Feeling the 7 threads of her claimed wolves settling as their king rested. Feeling the crown bond humming between them like a song only they could hear. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. More threats. More impossible choices. But tonight, in this moment, Sera felt something she'd never expected to feel again after Marcus's rejection. Hope. And in the darkness beyond the fortress, Alpha Ronan Ashcroft nursed his wounds and plotted his next move. The Bloodborne had shown restraint tonight. Had chosen not to use her power even when her king was dying. That restraint was her weakness. And Ronan knew exactly how to exploit it. He pulled out a communication crystal, feeding magic into it until it glowed. A voice answered, female and cold. Well, she's more powerful than the reports suggested. And she's bonded to Stormborn. A crown bond. The voice held interest now. How delightfully inconvenient for them. What do you want me to do? Pull back for now. Let them think they've won. Let them feel safe. A pause. Then we'll show her what happens when you care about people in a world that wants you dead. The crystal went dark. Ronan smiled. The real game was just beginning. Chapter 6, Secrets in Silver. Sera woke to find Darius already gone. The bed beside her was cold, though she could feel him through the bond. Not far. Somewhere in the fortress, already working despite his injuries. The man never rested. She sat up, wincing at the soreness in her muscles. The emotional toll of yesterday's battle had manifested physically. Through the bond, she'd felt every wound, every death, every moment of Darius's pain. It had nearly broken her. A soft knock at the door. Miss Sera. It's Lyra. The young servant girl entered carrying a tray of food and fresh clothes. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands trembling slightly. What's wrong? Sera asked. My brother. He was on the northern wall during the attack. Lyra's voice broke. He's in the medical wing. They don't know if he'll survive. Sera's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. But Lyra's eyes said something different. If you'd used your power, he wouldn't be dying. The unspoken accusation hung between them. Sera could feel it through the threads. All 7 of her claimed wolves were recovering from the battle. Tyler had a broken arm. Myra had taken a blade to the ribs. But they were alive. While Lyra's brother, unbonded to Sera, might die. Take me to him, Sera said suddenly. Lyra's eyes widened. Miss Sera, you shouldn't. Take me to him. Please. They walked through corridors filled with wounded warriors. The medical wing was chaos. Healers rushing between beds, the scent of blood and healing herbs thick in the air. Cassian moved among the injured, her ancient hand steady despite the carnage. Lyra led Sera to a bed in the corner. Her brother was young, maybe 17. His chest was wrapped in bandages that were already soaking through with blood. His breathing was shallow, labored. The blade nicked his lung, Lyra whispered. Cassian did what she could, but she didn't finish. Didn't need to. Sera knelt beside the bed, looking at this boy who'd fought to protect a fortress that held her, who'd bled for a king who'd taken her in, who might die because she'd chosen restraint. The Lunar Mark stirred. You could save him, it whispered. Just a touch. Claim him. Use the power to heal what's broken. No, Sera said aloud. I won't bind him without permission. He can't give permission, Lyra said desperately. He's unconscious. Sera met her eyes. Then I won't do it. I won't take his choice away, even to save his life. Lyra's face crumpled. Then you're just like them. Just like all the alphas who value power over people. The words cut deep. But Sera held firm. I value his autonomy over my convenience. That's the difference. She stood, turning away from the dying boy and the sister who hated her for it. Sera. Darius's voice stopped her at the doorway. He stood there, his shoulder still bandaged, dark circles under his silver eyes. Through the bond, she felt his exhaustion. His pain. His awareness of what she'd just done. Walk with me, he said. They moved through the fortress in silence until they reached a private balcony overlooking the mountains. Snow had begun to fall, dusting the peaks in white. You could have saved him, Darius said quietly. By enslaving him. Yes. Some would argue that's a fair trade. Life for loyalty. Sera turned to face him. And what do you argue? He was quiet for a long moment, his silver eyes distant. When I was younger, newly crowned, I had a choice similar to yours. A pack in the Western Territories was being decimated by a plague. I had a healer who could save them, but only if I forced her to go. She'd refused, said it was too dangerous. What did you do? I commanded her. Used my alpha authority to override her will. His jaw tightened. She saved the pack. All 300 wolves survived. But she never forgave me for taking her choice. And when she died 2 years later in another outbreak, her last words to me were, I hope the lives you saved were worth the trust you destroyed. He looked at Sera. I learned that day that there are costs to forcing wolves to do good. Costs that aren't always visible at first. Lyra hates me now. Lyra is grieving. She'll understand eventually. Or she won't. His hand came up, cupping her face. But you'll know you honored her brother's autonomy. Even in death. Through the bond, Sera felt his pride. His certainty that she'd made the right choice. It didn't make it hurt less. I need to tell you something, Darius said, his expression shifting to something grimmer. About last night's attack. Dante found something. He pulled out a small object, a communication crystal, cracked and dark. We retrieved this from one of Ronan's dead warriors. It has residual magic on it. Female. Powerful. His silver eyes hardened. Someone's been coordinating with Ronan. Someone on the council. Sera's blood ran cold. Who? We don't know yet. The signature is masked. But whoever it is has resources. Knowledge. And they're planning something bigger than a simple territory grab. He handed her the crystal. The moment Sera's fingers touched it, the Lunar Mark flared. She saw a flash of vision, a woman in silver robes, her face obscured by shadow. Ancient artifacts surrounding her. And a voice, cold and commanding. The Bloodborne must be broken. Not killed. Broken. Sera dropped the crystal, gasping. Darius caught her. What did you see? A woman. She's not just coordinating with Ronan. She's using him. Sera's heart raced. She wants me alive but shattered. And she has artifacts, old ones. The kind that shouldn't exist anymore. Bloodborne artifacts. I think so. Darius cursed softly. That narrows it down. Only a handful of alphas have access to artifacts that old. Vivienne Blackthorn. Magnus Ironwood. Maybe Cassius. His expression darkened. We need to find out which one before they make their next move. How? By doing something incredibly stupid. His smile was sharp. We're going to visit Vivienne. Confront her directly. That's insane. She could be the one. Exactly. Which is why we're going to walk into her territory and see how she reacts. Darius's silver eyes glinted with dark humor. Sometimes the best way to flush out a viper is to step on its tail. They left Shadow Peak 2 days later, once Darius was healed enough to travel. Dante accompanied them, along with a small contingent of elite guards. And the 7 wolves Sera had claimed. She tried to leave them behind, but Tyler had been insistent. You go, we go. That's how the bond works. I don't want you to die for me. His smile was gentle. We're already going to die for you eventually. Rather it be on our terms. The journey to Blackthorn Keep took 3 days through mountain passes and frozen forests. Vivienne's territory was harsh, beautiful, and strategically brilliant, easily defended, difficult to assault. The keep itself was a fortress of black stone and ice, built into the side of a mountain. Guards watched them approach with weapons ready but not drawn. Vivienne met them in her great hall, seated on a throne of carved obsidian. She looked exactly as she had at the council, elegant, ancient, dangerous. Alpha King Darius. And the little Bloodborne. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. To what do I owe this unexpected visit? Courtesy call, Darius said smoothly. After Ronan's attack, I'm checking in with all council members. Making sure everyone's committed to peace. How diplomatic. Vivienne descended from her throne, moving with predatory grace. And how transparent. You think I'm involved with Ronan's assault? Are you? If I were, you'd already be dead. Her cold eyes swept over them. I have no interest in the Bloodborne, King Darius. She's your problem, not mine. Sera felt the Lunar Mark stir. Vivienne was lying. Not about wanting them dead, that was true. But about having no interest. The ancient Alpha was very interested indeed. Then you won't mind if we look around, Sera said. Just to confirm. Vivienne's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. You dare demand access to my private keep? I dare ask, Sera corrected. As is my right under council law. Any Alpha suspected of conspiracy must allow investigation. You're not an Alpha. No. I'm something worse. Sera met those frozen eyes. I'm a Bloodborne with a crown bond to your king. Which means I have authority equal to his. Or are you refusing a direct order from the Alpha King? Silence stretched across the hall. Darius's hand came to rest on Sera's lower back. Through the bond, she felt his approval. His amusement. His love of her audacity. Vivienne's jaw tightened. Very well. Dante may search the public areas. But my private chambers remain off limits. Some boundaries even kings must respect. Agreed, Darius said. But as Dante and his team dispersed through the keep, Sera felt something through the Lunar Mark. A pull. Like a thread tugging at her consciousness. Something in this keep was calling to her. Something old. And powerful. And very, very wrong. She touched Darius's hand, sending a message through their bond. I need to separate from the group. There's something here. Too dangerous alone. Then come with me. He made a show of requesting a private word with Vivienne about council business, drawing her attention. Meanwhile, Sera slipped away, following the pull deeper into the keep. The sensation led her down stone corridors, past guards who didn't seem to notice her, a trick of the Lunar Mark, making her presence subtle, forgettable. She found herself in a restricted wing. The doors here were sealed with runes. Old ones. Familiar ones. The same runes that had been on the moon altar at her rejection ceremony. Sera's heart raced. She pressed her hand to the nearest door. The runes recognized her. Recognized the Lunar Mark. They opened. Inside was a chamber that made Sera's blood run cold. Artifacts covered every surface. Ancient texts. Ceremonial blades. And in the center, suspended in a crystal case. A silver crown. Not just any crown. The crown of the Silver Queen. Ilara's crown. I was wondering how long it would take you to find this. Sera spun. Vivienne stood in the doorway, but she looked different. Younger. Stronger. Silver light bled from her eyes, the same silver as Sera's Lunar Mark. Your Bloodborne, Sera whispered. Was. 300 years ago. Vivienne's smile was terrible. I was Ilara's sister. The one history forgot. The one who helped kill her. The world tilted. When Ilara died, the Lunar Mark should have died with her. But I found a way to preserve fragments of it. To keep the power alive through artifacts and rituals. Vivienne moved closer. I've spent 3 centuries waiting for another natural-born Bloodborne to emerge. Someone whose power I could steal. Sera backed away, but Vivienne was faster. Ancient. Impossibly strong. You're going to give me what I need, little wolf. Vivienne's hand shot out, gripping Sera's throat. You're going to let me drain your Lunar Mark. And when I'm done, I'll finally have the power Ilara stole from me all those years ago. Through the bond, Sera screamed for Darius. He was already running. But Vivienne had planned for that too. The doors slammed shut. Runes flared to life, sealing them in. The crown bond is strong, Vivienne purred. But these wards were designed to contain Bloodborns. He won't reach you in time. She pulled Sera toward the crystal case. Toward Ilara's crown. When I place this on your head, the transfer will begin. Your power will become mine. And you'll become nothing more than an empty shell. Vivienne's eyes gleamed. Don't worry. I'll take good care of your king. He'll make an excellent consort once I rule the territories. Sera's hand shot out, gripping Vivienne's wrist. The Lunar Mark exploded. Not with control. Not with precision. With pure, desperate fury. Sera didn't try to claim Vivienne. She tried to destroy her. Silver light erupted from her skin, slamming into the ancient Bloodborne with force that cracked the stone walls. Vivienne screamed, her stolen power flaring to meet Sera's natural mark. The two forces collided like lightning striking lightning. The crystal case shattered. Ilara's crown fell, hitting the floor with a sound like thunder. And the moment it touched stone, something else awakened. A presence. Vast. Ancient. Furious. Ilara's ghost. The Silver Queen's spirit erupted from the crown, 300 years of rage and pain and betrayal given form. She looked at Vivienne with eyes full of recognition. And heartbreak. Sister, Ilara's voice echoed through the chamber. You were supposed to protect them. Not become me. I'm better than you ever were. Vivienne snarled. No. Ilara's ghost turned to Sera. But she will be. The spirit reached out, her ethereal hand touching Sera's chest. Right over the Lunar Mark. And Sera felt everything. Ilara's memories. Her pain. Her slow descent into madness as the power consumed her. Her final moments, betrayed by the sister she'd trusted most. But also her hope. Her dream of what the Lunar Mark could be if wielded with wisdom instead of fear. Learn from my mistakes, Ilara whispered. The power doesn't have to destroy. It can create. Can heal. Can unite. Her ghost looked at Vivienne one last time. But only if you're brave enough to be different. Ilara's spirit dissolved, flowing into Sera's mark. Strengthening it. Completing it. When the light faded, Sera stood transformed. The Lunar Mark covered both her arms now, beautiful and terrible. Her eyes blazed pure silver. And the power inside her had changed, no longer hungry and desperate. Whole. Balanced. Hers. Vivienne staggered back, her stolen power flickering. No. That crown was mine. That power was. The doors exploded inward. Darius burst through, wolf form massive and silver-touched, Dante at his side. They took in the scene instantly, Vivienne's guilt written in the artifacts surrounding her, Sera transformed and powerful, the shattered crown on the floor. Vivienne tried to run. Sera raised one hand. Stop. The ancient Bloodborne froze. Not claimed. Not enslaved. Just held. Immobilized by pure force of will. You wanted my power, Sera said, her voice echoing with something beyond herself. You wanted to become what Ilara was. But you already did. You became the monster she tried not to be. She looked at Darius. At Dante. At the 7 wolves who'd fought their way to her side. Take her to the council. Let them judge her for her crimes. Darius shifted back to human form, his silver eyes wide with awe and love and fear. "Are you all right?" Sera looked down at her transformed hands, at the silver marks that now told her story. "I don't know. But I'm not Ilara. And I won't become Vivienne." She met his gaze. "I'm going to be something new. Something better." Through the crown bond, he felt her certainty. Her strength. His queen had finally claimed her power. And the territories would never be the same. Chapter 7. The Crown's Weight. The council convened within 24 hours. Vivienne Blackthorn, Ancient Alpha and Secret Bloodborne, stood in chains before her peers. Silver chains, carved with runes designed specifically to contain her stolen power. Sera watched from beside Darius's throne, no longer hidden or protected. She stood as his equal now, the silver marks on her arms visible to all. The council chamber buzzed with tension. 300 years, Elder Magnus Ironwood said, his ancient voice heavy with betrayal. 300 years you sat among us, judging others, while hiding what you were. What I had to become, Vivienne snarled. Ilara was my sister. My twin. When she received the Lunar Mark and I didn't, she became everything. I was nothing. Just the shadow of the Silver Queen. Her frozen eyes swept the council. So yes, I helped kill her. And yes, I've spent centuries trying to reclaim what should have been mine by birth. By trying to steal it from an innocent girl, Alpha Cassius spat. You're no better than the tyrant you helped destroy. I'm better than all of you, Vivienne hissed. You sit in your territories, playing at power, while the real magic dies. The old ways disappear. I was trying to preserve. Yourself, Sera interrupted quietly. You were trying to preserve yourself. The magic, the power, the old ways. Those were just excuses. Vivienne's gaze snapped to her. You understand nothing, child. You've had the mark for mere weeks. I've studied it for 3 centuries. And in 3 centuries, you never learned what Ilara figured out in her last moments. Sera descended from the platform, moving closer to the chained Bloodborne. The power isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to be shared. To connect, not control. She stopped directly in front of Vivienne. That's why you could never awaken a true Lunar Mark. Why you had to steal fragments and build pale imitations. Because the goddess doesn't give this power to those who want to rule alone. Through the crown bond, Sera felt Darius's pride. His certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The council will vote, Magnus announced. Vivienne Blackthorn stands accused of conspiracy, attempted murder, and crimes against the ancient laws. All in favor of execution. 12 hands rose. Only one abstained, a young alpha named Kira Silverpaw, newly appointed to replace a fallen member. Execution is warranted, Kira said carefully. But I abstain because I want to hear what the Bloodborne thinks. She's the one Vivienne tried to destroy. She should have a voice in this. All eyes turned to Sera. She could feel the weight of the moment. The council was giving her power. Authority. Recognition as something more than a dangerous anomaly. They were acknowledging her as Darius's equal. Vivienne Blackthorn deserves death, Sera said. Her crimes are unforgivable. But killing her won't undo 3 centuries of damage. It won't restore the knowledge she's hoarded or the artifacts she's hidden. She looked at the ancient Bloodborne. I propose an alternative. Strip her of rank and territory. Place her under permanent house arrest at Shadow Peak, where she'll spend the rest of her life teaching me everything she knows about the Lunar Mark. Gasps echoed through the chamber. You want to spare her? Cassius demanded. After everything. I want to use her, Sera corrected. She spent 300 years studying Bloodborne power. That knowledge dies with her if we execute her. But if she lives, if she teaches me how to avoid Ilara's mistakes, then maybe her crimes can serve some purpose. Vivienne stared at her with something like respect. You'd trust me? After I tried to drain you? No. But I'd use you. There's a difference. Sera's silver eyes were hard. You'll be watched constantly. Warded. One wrong move, and the execution order stands. But if you cooperate, you live. Diminished, but alive. The council murmured among themselves. Finally, Magnus spoke. An unconventional solution. But then, we're in unconventional times. He looked at Darius. What says the Alpha King? Darius had been silent throughout, letting Sera handle this. Now he stood. I support my queen's decision. Vivienne will be transferred to Shadow Peak under maximum security. She'll teach Sera everything about the Lunar Mark, or she'll face execution. His silver eyes were merciless. Choose wisely, Vivienne. The vote was called. 8 in favor of Sera's alternative. For still wanting execution. Vivienne would live. Barely. As the guards led her away, Vivienne paused beside Sera. You're making a mistake, trusting me even this much. I'm not trusting you. I'm using you. Sera met her gaze. But I'm also giving you a chance Alara never got. A chance to be something other than a cautionary tale. Something flickered in Vivienne's ancient eyes. Not gratitude. Not quite respect. But recognition. Of an opportunity. Of a path she'd never considered. We'll see, the old Bloodborne said. We'll see. The council session ended with more than just Vivienne's fate decided. Alpha Magnus stood, his ancient frame somehow still commanding. There's another matter we must address. The Bloodborne's status. Here it comes, Sera thought. The real judgment. Sera Blackwood has proven herself worthy of trust. She's shown restraint, wisdom, and mercy beyond her years. Magnus's eyes swept the council. But she cannot remain in legal limbo. She must have official standing. She has standing, Darius said. As my bonded queen. A crown bond hasn't been recognized in 300 years, Cassius argued. We have no legal framework for it. Then we create one. Magnus's voice was firm. I propose we officially recognize Sera Blackwood Stormborn as Queen of the Northern Dominion. With all rights, privileges, and responsibilities that title entails. The chamber fell silent. Kira Silverpaw stood. I second the motion. And I propose we go further. Create a new position, Lunar Arbiter. A Bloodborne who serves as mediator between packs. Someone who can sense broken bonds, heal fractured relationships, prevent wars before they start. You'd give her more power? Cassius demanded. I'd give her purpose, Kira corrected. Right now, she's a weapon everyone fears. Make her a healer instead. Let her prove the Lunar Mark can build instead of destroy. Sera's throat tightened. Someone understood. Someone saw what she was trying to become. The vote was called. 9 in favor. 3 opposed. 1 abstention. Sera Blackwood was officially recognized as Queen of the Northern Dominion and the first Lunar Arbiter in 300 years. Darius descended from his throne and took her hand, raising it high. Behold your queen, he said, his voice carrying through the chamber. My equal in power. My partner in rule. Challenge her, and you challenge me. Through the crown bond, Sera felt his absolute certainty. His pride. His love. She was no longer the broken, rejected wolf from Crescent Moon Pack. She was a queen. They returned to Shadow Peak 3 days later to a hero's welcome. Warriors lined the courtyard, cheering as their king and queen entered. Sera's 7 claimed wolves stood at the forefront, pride radiating from them. Even Lyra was there, her expression complicated but no longer hostile. My brother survived, she said quietly, approaching Sera. Cassian said it was a miracle. That he should have died. I'm glad he didn't. I know you could have saved him. Could have claimed him and healed him with the mark. Lyra's eyes were wet. But you gave him his choice. Even when I hated you for it. I couldn't take that from him. I know. And that's why. Lyra knelt, head bowed. That's why I'm asking now. Will you claim me? Not as a slave. As pack. As family. Sera's breath caught. Lyra. I choose this. I'm choosing you. Please. Through the Lunar Mark, Sera felt the young woman's sincerity. Her desire not just for protection, but for belonging. For pack. For the first time, someone was asking to be claimed. Sera looked at Darius. He nodded. She placed her hand on Lyra's head, and let the mark flow. Gentle. Careful. Asking permission at every step. The bond formed, but different from the 7 she'd claimed by accident. This one was mutual. Chosen on both sides. Lyra gasped as the connection settled, then smiled through tears. I can feel you. Feel the pack. I'm not alone anymore. You never were, Sera said softly. You just couldn't feel it before. One by one, other wolves approached. Warriors who'd fought in the battle. Servants who'd watched Sera choose mercy over power. Healers who'd seen her honor a dying boy's autonomy. By nightfall, Sera had 23 claimed wolves. Not enslaved. Chosen. Her pack. Her family. That night, alone in their chambers, Darius pulled Sera into his arms. You're building something unprecedented, he murmured against her hair. A pack built on choice. On consent. On love instead of fear. I'm building what Ilara should have had. What I wish I'd had at Crescent Moon. Sera looked up at him. A place where being different doesn't mean being broken. His hand came up, tracing the silver marks on her arms. These are beautiful. They're terrifying. They're both. He kissed her forehead. Just like you. Through the crown bond, Sera felt his desire. His love. His absolute certainty that she was his future. Darius, she whispered. I need to tell you something. I already know. His smile was soft. I can feel it through the bond. Feel what? That you love me too. He cupped her face. That this isn't just politics or convenience. That what we have is real. Sera's eyes burned. I never thought I'd have this. After Marcus rejected me, I thought I was unlovable. Marcus was a fool who couldn't see what was right in front of him. Darius's silver eyes were intense. You were never broken, Sera. You were just waiting for someone strong enough to stand beside you instead of trying to cage you. He kissed her then. Not gentle. Not tentative. With the certainty of someone claiming what was his while simultaneously offering everything he was. Through the crown bond, their souls intertwined. Not the forced connection of a traditional mate bond, but something chosen. Built on trust and respect and genuine love. When they finally broke apart, Sera was breathless. I love you, she said. The words she'd been too afraid to speak aloud. I know. His smile was warm. I've felt it through the bond for days. Been waiting for you to admit it. Insufferable. Yours. He kissed her again. Completely, utterly yours. That night, they didn't just seal their bond physically. They sealed their partnership. Their future. The Alpha King and his Bloodborne Queen. Together, they would rewrite what was possible. But in the darkness beyond the fortress, another threat was gathering. Ronan had retreated, but he hadn't surrendered. And he'd found new allies. Alphas who feared what Sera represented. Who saw her growing pack as a threat to the natural order. They were planning something. Something that would test Sera's resolve like never before. Because they'd realized the truth, they couldn't kill her. But they could kill everyone she loved. And force her to become the monster they claimed she was. Chapter 8, The Rising Storm. 3 weeks of peace. 3 weeks where Sera trained with Vivienne, learning to control the Lunar Mark's deeper functions. 3 weeks where her pack grew to 50 wolves, all chosen, all loved. 3 weeks where she and Darius built something that felt like forever. It was too good to last. The first attack came at dawn. Not on Shadow Peak. On a small farming pack 3 territories away. They'd requested Sera's mediation 2 days prior. A boundary dispute with their neighbors. Sera had been planning to visit that afternoon. She never got the chance. Dante burst into her breakfast with Darius, his scarred face grim. The Riverside pack. They're gone. Gone. Darius's hand stilled on his cup. Explain. Slaughtered. Every wolf. Men, women, children, elders. Dante's voice was hollow. Whoever did this wanted to send a message. Through the crown bond, Sera felt Darius's fury. His grief. How many? She whispered. 147. Sera's stomach turned. Why? What did they? They requested your help. Dante's amber eye fixed on her. That's why they died. Someone's targeting packs that ally with you. The implication crashed over her like ice water. This was her fault. No. Darius's voice was hard. This is the fault of whoever ordered the attack. Don't take their blame onto yourself. But through the bond, she felt his fear. His certainty that this was just the beginning. They found the message an hour later. Carved into the Alpha's throne at Riverside, the Bloodborne's allies will burn. One pack at a time. Until she kneels. No signature. But the magic signature on the carving was familiar. Ronan. His escalated, Darius said, staring at the massacre site. Bodies everywhere. The scent of death overwhelming. This isn't about territory or power anymore. This is about destroying you. Sera walked through the ruins, her heart breaking with every step. Children's toys scattered in the dirt. Half-eaten meals on tables. Lives interrupted and ended for no reason except alliance with her. Her pack, her 50 chosen wolves, stood guard around her, their grief and fury flowing through the bonds. We can't let him keep doing this, Myra said, her hand on her weapon. We need to strike back. That's what he wants, Dante argued. He's trying to bait Sera into using the mark aggressively. Into becoming the tyrant everyone fears. So we do nothing. Tyler demanded. Let him kill innocents. We do something, Sera said quietly. But not what he expects. She looked at Darius. I'm going to find every pack that's allied with us or requested my help. And I'm going to offer them protection. You can't protect everyone, Darius said. No. But I can offer them choice. Sera's silver eyes were hard. I can ask if they want to join my pack. Voluntarily. So they're under Shadowpeak's direct protection. You're talking about expanding your claimed pack to hundreds of wolves. I'm talking about giving them a chance to survive. She touched his face. Ilara went mad because she claimed wolves against their will. Carried their souls like burdens. But what if I only claim those who ask? Who choose this? Through the bond, Darius felt her certainty. Her desperate hope that this could work. It's never been done before, he said. Then we'll be the first. Over the next week, Sera visited 12 packs that had allied with her. 12 packs that were now targets. She offered each the same choice, join her pack voluntarily, receive Shadowpeak's protection, or remain independent and risk Ronan's wrath. 8 packs chose to join. 4 refused, trusting in their own strength. Sera's pack swelled to 237 wolves. She could feel every one of them. Every heartbeat. Every fear. Every hope. The weight was crushing. But through the crown bond, Darius helped carry it. His strength anchoring her when the burden threatened to overwhelm. I can feel them all, Sera gasped one night, her head in her hands. Every single one. Their pain. Their grief over Riverside. Their fear that they're next. Then feel this too, Darius said, pulling her against his chest. Feel me. Feel our bond. You're not alone in this. Through their connection, he poured his strength into her. His certainty. His absolute faith that she could do this. It helped. Barely. Then came the second attack. One of the 4 packs that had refused Sera's protection. The Iron Ridge pack. 83 wolves. All dead. The message carved into their alpha's chest. Kneel, Bloodborne. Or they all burn. Sera stood in the ruins, her heart shattering. She could have saved them. Could have offered protection more forcefully. Could have. Don't, Darius said, feeling her spiral through the bond. You gave them choice. They chose. You can't save wolves who won't let you. I could have made them, she whispered. Could have claimed them without asking. They'd be alive now. And you'd be one step closer to becoming Ilara. His hands gripped her shoulders. Don't let Ronan do this to you. Don't let him make you compromise who you are. But that night, alone in her chambers, Sera felt the Lunar Mark whisper its seductive promises. You could end this. Reach out across the territories. Claim every wolf. Make them all yours. Safe. Protected. No one else would die. At the cost of their freedom, Sera said aloud. At the cost of their lives, the mark countered. Which is worse? She didn't have an answer. The third attack came 2 days later. But this time, it wasn't a random pack. It was one of Sera's. The Clearwater pack had joined her voluntarily a week ago. 43 wolves, including 12 children. Ronan hit them at night. Fast. Brutal. Efficient. Sera felt it through the bonds. Felt every death. Every moment of terror. Every child's scream. It ripped through her like shrapnel, and she screamed with them. Darius was there instantly, his arms wrapping around her as she collapsed. They're dying, she gasped. I can feel them dying. Where? Clearwater territory. Ronan's there. His. She didn't finish. Couldn't. The pain was too intense. Darius was already moving, shouting orders. Mobilize everyone. Full pack deployment. Dante, you're with me. I'm coming too. Sera managed through the agony. You can barely stand. They're my pack. Her silver eyes blazed through the tears. I won't hide while they die for me. Through the crown bond, Darius felt her absolute determination. Her refusal to be protected while her wolves bled. He nodded grimly. Then we go together. They reached Clearwater territory within 20 minutes, moving at full wolf speed. Sera's pack, all 237 wolves, converged from different directions. But they were too late. Ronan's forces had already retreated, leaving devastation in their wake. 38 dead. 5 survivors, all wounded. Including a child. A little girl, no more than 7, crying over her mother's body. Sera fell to her knees beside the girl, silver marks blazing as she poured healing energy through the Lunar Mark. She'd never tried to heal someone before, but desperation made it possible. The child's wounds closed. Her breathing steadied. But her mother was already gone. You promised to protect us, the little girl sobbed, looking at Sera with betrayed eyes. You promised we'd be safe. Sera had no answer. No excuse. No comfort that wouldn't be a lie. She'd failed them. And through the bonds, she felt her entire pack's grief. Their doubt. Their fear that choosing her had been a mistake. Ronan had left another message, carved into the Alpha's dwelling. The Bloodborne protects no one. She only brings death. Kneel, or watch them all burn. That night, back at Shadow Peak, Sera stood on the balcony staring out at her territory. 237 wolves. Her responsibility. Her family. And Ronan would kill every single one to break her. What do I do? She whispered to the darkness. To Darius, standing silent beside her. To the ghost of Alara, whose crown had passed its wisdom to her. You do what I should have done, Darius said quietly. You hunt. You find Ronan. And you end this threat before it kills anyone else. If I go after him with the full force of the Lunar Mark, I become what they fear. And if you don't, everyone you love dies. His silver eyes were hard. There's no good choice here, Sera. Only impossible ones. Through the bonds, she felt her pack. Felt their faith in her wavering. Felt their fear growing. Felt them wondering if they'd chosen the wrong queen. And in the darkness beyond the territory, Ronan smiled. The Bloodborne was breaking. Exactly as planned. Chapter 9, The Queen's Choice. The War Council met at midnight. Darius's commanders surrounded the table, along with Dante, Cassian, and the Alphas who'd remained loyal, Magnus, Kira, and 3 others. And Vivienne, still in chains but present because her knowledge of Bloodborne tactics was invaluable. Ronan has 40 warriors left, Dante reported, marking positions on the map. His hold-up in the Blackwood ravine. Defensible position, but we have numbers. Numbers won't matter if he's baiting us into a trap, Magnus said. He wants Sera to come. Wants to force her hand. Then we don't bring Sera, one of the commanders suggested. He'll just kill more packs, Kira countered. This doesn't end until someone stops him permanently. All eyes turned to Sera. She'd been silent throughout the meeting, feeling the weight of 237 souls pressing against her consciousness. Every fear. Every doubt. Every death replaying in her mind. What if I gave him what he wants? She said quietly. Darius's head snapped toward her. Absolutely not. He wants me to kneel. To submit. To prove I'm not a threat. Sera met his eyes. What if I went to him? Alone. Offered to surrender. He'd kill you. Maybe. Or maybe he'd gloat. Maybe he'd reveal who's backing him, because Vivienne wasn't working alone. There are other conspirators. She looked at the ancient Bloodborne. Aren't there? Vivienne's expression was unreadable. Ronan is a pawn. The real threat is the one pulling his strings. Who? Darius demanded. I don't know. Our communications were always masked. But whoever it is has resources that rival yours, King. And patience measured in centuries, not years. Sera stood. Then I draw them out. I surrender to Ronan. Let him think his won. And when his master reveals themselves, I kill them both. Darius finished, understanding dawning. Your bait. I'm the only bait they'll take. Sera's silver eyes were hard. And I'm tired of watching my pack die because I'm too afraid to take risks. Through the crown bond, Darius felt her determination. Her absolute certainty that this was the only way. He hated it. Every tactical instinct screamed against it. But through the bond, he also felt something else. Trust. Sera trusted him to protect her. To be there when she needed him. We do this my way, Darius said finally. You're not going alone. You'll have trackers. Guards hidden in the terrain. And the moment Ronan makes his move, I'm there. Agreed. And if this mysterious master does reveal themselves, you let me handle them. No heroics. No sacrifices. His hand cupped her face. You're too valuable to lose. Through the bond, Sera felt what he didn't say. You're too loved to lose. I'll be careful, she promised. Vivienne laughed bitterly. Ilara said the same thing before she walked into the ambush that killed her. Careful isn't enough when you're facing wolves who've spent lifetimes learning how to kill bloodborns. Then it's good I'm not Ilara. Sera met the ancient wolf's eyes. And I'm not alone. They sent word to Ronan at dawn. The bloodborne would meet him at Blackwood Ravine. Alone. Unarmed. To discuss terms of surrender. Ronan's response came within the hour. Come at sunset. Or I burn another pack. Sera spent the day preparing. Not with weapons or armor, but with goodbyes. She visited each section of her pack. Spoke with her claimed wolves. Let them feel through the bonds that she wasn't abandoning them. Tyler was the hardest. The warrior who'd once come to capture her, now bound to her by accident and choice both. You're walking into a trap, he said bluntly. I know. And you're going anyway. I have to. Sera touched his shoulder. You understand that, don't you? As a warrior. His jaw tightened. As a warrior, yes. As your pack. He stopped, his throat working. If you die, we all feel it. The bond goes both ways. I know. But if I do nothing, we all die anyway. Just slower. More painfully. She met his eyes. I'd rather face the threat head-on than watch it pick us off one by one. Tyler nodded slowly. Then we trust you. All of us. 237 wolves putting our lives in your hands. No pressure, Sera said with dark humor. His smile was fleeting. Come back to us, Alpha. We've only just found you. The little girl from Clearwater Pack found Sera next. The 7-year-old who'd lost her mother. Who'd looked at Sera with betrayed eyes. You're leaving, the child said. Not a question. For a little while. Mama said you'd protect us. Then she died. The girl's voice was small, hurt. You promised. Sera knelt, bringing herself to eye level. I did. And I failed. I won't lie to you about that. Your mama died because I wasn't strong enough to stop the bad wolves. So why are you going to them? Because I'm going to become strong enough. And I'm going to make sure no more mamas die. Sera touched the girl's cheek. I'm sorry I couldn't save yours. But I'll do everything I can to save everyone else's. The child stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, She hugged Sera. Be careful, she whispered. I don't want to lose another mama. Sera's throat tightened. Through the bond, she felt this child's soul wounded, grieving, but still hoping. Still trusting despite everything. I'll be careful, she promised. Finally, she found Darius in their chambers. He was arming himself methodically, blades, throwing knives, a bow. Preparing for war. You're bringing half the pack, Sera said. I'm bringing everyone who can fight. His silver eyes met hers. I won't lose you, Sera. I can't. Through the crown bond, she felt his fear. Raw and overwhelming. He'd lost Isla. Lost everyone he'd ever loved. The thought of losing Sera was breaking something in him. She crossed to him, taking his hands. You won't. We have the bond. You'll know if I'm in real danger. The bond could be severed. Cut. If someone knows enough about Bloodborns, then you'll feel it break. And you'll come for me. She pulled him down, kissing him with everything she felt. All the love. All the hope. All the desperate certainty that they'd survive this. When they broke apart, Darius's forehead rested against hers. I love you, he said. Words he'd been holding back, afraid to voice. I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you too. Sera's hands framed his face. And that's why I have to do this. Because love without courage is meaningless. And I won't let fear make me weak. Through the bond, he felt her truth. Her strength. His queen, standing on the edge of a precipice, refusing to fall. Then go, he said. But no, I'll be in those woods. Watching. Waiting. The moment you need me. I know. She kissed him again. I've always known. Blackwood Ravine was a scar in the earth, a deep gorge carved by ancient rivers, surrounded by dense forest. Strategically brilliant. Dozens of places for ambush. Only one way in. Sera walked that path alone as the sun touched the horizon. Her pack was hidden in the forest. 200 warriors including Darius, all masked by Cashan's magic to hide their presence from Ronan's scouts. But Sera felt exposed. Vulnerable. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. The Lunar Mark was strangely quiet. For once, it wasn't whispering temptations or promises of power. It was waiting. Ronan stood in the center of the ravine, surrounded by his 40 warriors. He looked tired. Scarred. Like the war had cost him more than he'd expected. The Bloodborne comes to kneel, he called as Sera approached. I didn't think you had it in you. I don't. Sera stopped 20 paces away. I came to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You surrender, or your pack dies. All of them. Why? What did I do to you, Ronan? Why this vendetta? His amber eyes flashed with something between rage and grief. You exist. That's enough. As long as a Bloodborne walks these territories, no alpha is safe. No pack is secure. You're a threat to everything we've built. I've never claimed a wolf without their consent. Never used the mark to conquer or control. Yet. Ronan stepped forward. You haven't done those things yet. But you will. They all do, eventually. The power is too strong. Too seductive. You'll break just like Ilara did. I'm not Ilara. Prove it. He gestured to his warriors. These 40 wolves. Right now. Use your mark to make them lower their weapons. Make them submit. Save your pack without violence. Sera felt the trap's teeth. If I do that, you prove you're a tyrant who controls wolves against their will. His smile was cruel. And if you don't, you prove you're too weak to protect anyone. Either way, you lose. Through the crown bond, Sera felt Darius's presence. Close. Ready. Trust me, she sent through their connection. Please trust me. His reluctant agreement flowed back. Sera looked at Ronan's 40 warriors. She could feel them through the Lunar Mark. Their fear. Their loyalty to their alpha. Their desperation to survive this conflict. She could claim them. Could end this in seconds. Or she could try something no Bloodborne had ever attempted. You're right, Sera said. If I claim your warriors, I'm a tyrant. If I don't, I'm weak. She met Ronan's eyes. So I'm choosing a third option. She let the Lunar Mark flare to full power. Silver light erupted from her skin, washing over the ravine. But she didn't claim Ronan's warriors. She showed them the truth. Through the mark, she projected memories. Images. Feelings. Everything she'd experienced since the rejection. The pain of Marcus's betrayal. The fear of awakening as something monstrous. The crushing weight of 237 souls. The grief over Riverside. Over Clearwater. Over every death that haunted her dreams. She showed them her restraint. Every moment she'd chosen mercy over power. Every time she'd held back when claiming would have been easier. And she showed them her hope. Her desperate belief that wolves could be better than their fears. That pack could be built on choice instead of dominance. The 40 warriors gasped as the visions flooded through them. Not claimed. Not controlled. Just seen. Understood. Connected to in a way that bypassed words. When the light faded, several of Ronan's warriors were on their knees. Not in submission. In grief. In understanding. She's not the monster, one said, his voice breaking. Alpha Ronan, she's not. Silence. Ronan snarled. She's manipulating you. Using her power to show us the truth, another warrior interrupted. A female, scarred and battle-worn. I felt it, Alpha. Felt everything she's carried. She's not lying. She's not the threat we thought. Then what is she? Ronan's voice cracked with desperation. Someone trying to be better than we deserve, the female warrior said. She lowered her weapon. One by one, Ronan's warriors did the same. Not claimed. Not controlled. But choosing to stand down. Ronan stared at his pack, betrayed and furious. You're fools. All of you. She'll enslave you the moment you're useful. No, Sera said quietly. I won't. Because I'm not Ilara. And I'm not you. I'm just someone trying to survive in a world that won't stop testing me. She turned to Ronan's warriors. I won't claim you. Won't force you to join my pack. But I will offer you choice. If you want to walk away from this war, I'll guarantee your safety. If you want to keep fighting, I won't stop you. But understand, I will defend my pack. And I won't show mercy to those who hunt them. 37 of Ronan's 40 warriors chose to stand down. Only 3 remained at his side. True believers who saw Bloodborns as existential threats. Ronan stood alone, his army dissolved not through force but through truth. This isn't over, he said, his voice hollow. My master will. A presence materialized behind him. Not physically appearing. Just suddenly there, as if they'd been hidden by magic all along. A figure in silver robes, face obscured by shadow. Your master is disappointed in you, Ronan. The voice was female. Ancient. And terrifyingly familiar. Sera's blood ran cold as the figure lowered her hood. Not Vivienne. Not any Alpha Sera had met. But a face she'd seen in Ilara's memories. In the Crown's visions. Ilara's face. Or someone who looked exactly like her. 300 years, the woman said, her silver eyes gleaming. 300 years I've waited. Building power. Gathering artifacts. Preserving fragments of the Lunar Mark. She smiled at Sera. And now, finally, you've done exactly what I needed. Who are you? Sera demanded. I'm what Ilara should have been. What you could have been. The woman's smile was terrible. I'm the first Bloodborne. The one the histories forgot. Ilara's teacher. Her creator. She raised her hand, and silver light exploded from her palm, not natural Lunar Mark power, but something twisted. Artificial. Wrong. I'm Morgana. And I'm here to take back what's mine. Chapter 10, The First and the Last. Morgana's power hit like a tidal wave. Not natural. Not whole. A patchwork of stolen fragments and twisted magic that made Sera's Lunar Mark recoil in horror. Sera threw up a shield instinctively, silver light crackling around her. But Morgana's attack punched through, sending Sera flying backward into the ravine wall. Stone cracked. Pain exploded through her ribs. Through the crown bond, Darius felt everything. Now! He roared, and 200 warriors exploded from the forest. Morgana laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally. Right on time, Alpha King. Did you think I didn't know you were here? I've been planning this for 3 centuries. Every variable accounted for. She raised both hands, and the earth itself responded. Runes blazed to life across the ravine, hidden wards Morgana must have placed weeks ago. Walls of force erupted, separating Darius's warriors from the center where Sera and Morgana stood. Darius slammed into the barrier with his full strength. It didn't budge. You wanted to save her? Morgana called to him. Then watch. Watch as I take everything the last Bloodborne has. Her power. Her pack. Her soul. Sera struggled to her feet, tasting blood. You're not a Bloodborne. You're something else. Something wrong. Wrong. Morgana's silver eyes, so like Sera's but cold, dead. Narrowed. I created the Lunar Mark. Begged the goddess for power to save my dying pack. She granted it. But the price. Her expression twisted. The price was my humanity. My ability to die. I've lived for 800 years, Sera. Watching generation after generation of wolves live and die while I remain unchanged. She moved closer, her power pressing down like a physical weight. Ilara was my attempt to pass on the curse. To create another Bloodborne who could share the burden. But she was weak. Let love soften her. Let betrayal break her. She wasn't weak, Sera gritted out. She was human. Exactly. Human. Flawed. Temporary. Morgana's hand shot out, gripping Sera's throat with impossible strength. But you've resisted every temptation. Shown restraint I never achieved. You're what I should have been. She lifted Sera off the ground, and through their touching skin, Sera felt Morgana's true intention. She wasn't going to kill her. She was going to consume her. Take the natural Lunar Mark and merge it with her twisted fragments. Become whole for the first time in 8 centuries. No, Sera gasped, clawing at Morgana's wrist. Yes. Silver light began to flow from Sera's skin into Morgana's. Your power. Your pack bonds. Your crown bond with the precious Alpha King. All of it will be mine. Sera felt the Lunar Mark being ripped away. Felt her connection to her 237 wolves beginning to fray. Felt the golden thread binding her to Darius starting to unravel. Through the crown bond, his anguish crashed over her. Fight. Darius screamed across their connection. Sera, fight her. But how? Morgana was ancient. Powerful. Had spent 8 centuries perfecting this magic. Sera was just a rejected wolf who'd stumbled into power weeks ago. That's not true, a voice whispered. Not Morgana. Not Darius. Ilara. The Silver Queen's spirit, still lingering in the mark, still watching over her heir. You're not just a rejected wolf. You're the first Bloodborne in 300 years to choose love over power. To build instead of destroy. That's not weakness, child. That's evolution. Sera felt Ilara's presence surge through her. Not taking control. Supporting. Showing her what the Lunar Mark could truly do. Not just claim wolves. Not just control bonds. Heal them. Strengthen them. Transform them. Sera stopped fighting against Morgana's drain. She pushed back. Not with stolen power or twisted magic. With truth. With every bond she'd built on choice and love. With the strength of 237 wolves who'd chosen her. With Darius's absolute faith flowing through their crown bond. Silver light erupted from Sera, pure and clean and natural. It slammed into Morgana's corrupted power like dawn burning away shadow. The ancient Bloodborne screamed, stumbling backward. Impossible. You're barely trained. I don't need training. Sera's eyes blazed molten silver. I have something you never did. Something you threw away when you chose immortality over humanity. She stood, feeling her pack through the bonds. Feeling Darius's love. Feeling even Ronan's remaining warriors watching with something like hope. I have pack. Real pack. Built on choice and trust and love. Sera's voice rang through the ravine. You're alone, Morgana. You've been alone for 800 years. And that's made you weak. Weak. Morgana's face contorted with rage. I've survived 8 centuries, outlasted empires, built power you can't even comprehend. And you're still empty. Sera took a step forward, her power growing with every word. Still desperate. Still so afraid of dying that you forgot how to live. Through the bonds, Sera felt her pack responding. Not just feeling her emotions. Adding to them. 237 wolves, all pouring their strength through their connections to her. The Lunar Mark blazed brighter than it ever had. Morgana attacked with everything she had. Centuries of stolen power. Dozens of corrupted artifacts. Magic that should have obliterated Sera. But Sera didn't face it alone. Through the crown bond, Darius added his strength. Through the pack bonds, her wolves gave their power freely. Even Alara's ghost contributed, her spirit finally at peace after 300 years. The two forces collided, ancient corruption versus natural evolution. And the ravine exploded with light. When it cleared, Morgana was on her knees. Her stolen power shattered. Her artifacts crumbling to dust. 800 years of accumulated magic unraveling because it had been built on lies and coercion instead of truth. You can't, she whispered, staring at her disintegrating hands. I'm immortal. The goddess made me. The goddess gave you a gift. You made it a curse. Sera knelt beside the ancient wolf, feeling not triumph but pity. You could have used the mark to build, to connect, to create something beautiful. But you chose isolation. Chose to hoard power instead of sharing it. Morgana looked up, and for the first time, her eyes showed something other than cold calculation. Fear. And relief. I'm so tired, she whispered. 800 years. So tired. Then rest. Sera took her hand gently. Let go, Morgana. You've carried this burden long enough. Through the Lunar Mark, Sera did something unprecedented. She didn't take Morgana's power. She freed her from it. Unbound the curse that had kept her alive centuries past her natural span. Released her from the twisted magic that had made her something other than wolf. Morgana gasped as mortality returned. As age 800 years of it rushed back in a single moment. But instead of pain, her expression showed peace. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you for letting me die. She crumbled to dust in Sera's hands, her spirit finally free after 8 centuries of cursed existence. The wards around the ravine dissolved. Darius was there instantly, pulling Sera into his arms. Are you hurt? I felt the bond strain, thought I was losing you. I'm here. Sera buried her face in his chest, suddenly exhausted. I'm here. Through their crown bond, she felt his relief. His joy. His absolute certainty that he'd just witnessed something that would reshape their world. Around them, wolves stared in shock. Sera's pack. Darius's warriors. Even Ronan's 3 remaining loyalists. They'd all felt it. The moment when a Bloodborne chose to free an enemy instead of destroying her. Chose mercy over vengeance. Proved that the Lunar Mark could be something other than a curse. Ronan stepped forward slowly, his face ashen. You could have killed her. Could have taken her power and become unstoppable. I could have, Sera agreed, still leaning against Darius. But then I'd be exactly what you feared. What she was. A tyrant hoarding power because I was too afraid to trust anyone else with it. She pulled away from Darius enough to look at Ronan. I'm done being afraid. Done letting fear make my choices. From now on, I choose hope. I choose to build instead of destroy. Ronan stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, deliberately, he knelt. I was wrong about you, he said, his voice rough. About what Bloodborns are. About what you could become. He met her eyes. I won't ask you to forgive me. The lives I took, the packs I destroyed, those sins are mine to carry. But I'll ask for your mercy. For my remaining wolves, if not for me. Through the Lunar Mark, Sera felt his sincerity. His genuine remorse. She also felt his exhaustion. He'd been manipulated by Morgana for months. Used as a weapon against a threat that hadn't existed. Your wolves are free to go, Sera said. No punishment. No retribution. They were following their alpha's orders. She paused. But you, Ronan Ashcroft, will face the council. Let them decide your fate. He nodded, accepting. That's more mercy than I deserve. The council's judgment came 3 days later. Exile. Ronan was stripped of his rank, his territory, his pack. Sent to live as a rogue in the neutral lands. Harsh, but not death. A chance to find redemption, if he chose to seek it. Epilogue, 6 months later. Sera stood on the balcony of Shadowpeak Hold, watching the sun rise over her territory. 6 months since Morgana's death. 6 months since the world learned that Bloodborns didn't have to be monsters. Her pack had grown to 473 wolves. All chosen. All loved. The weight was still crushing some days. But through the crown bond, Darius helped carry it. And through her pack bonds, she'd learned to share the burden instead of hoarding it. You're up early, Darius said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind. The delegation from the Western Territories? Among other things. Sera leaned back against him. 3 more packs requested mediation this week. The council wants me to travel to the southern mountains. And Cassian says. She stopped, her hand moving instinctively to her stomach. Through the crown bond, Darius felt everything. His arms tightened around her. You're sure? He whispered. Cassian confirmed it yesterday. I wanted to tell you, but with everything happening. He turned her around, his silver eyes blazing with joy and terror in equal measure. We're having a pup. We're having a pup. Sera's throat tightened with emotion. A child who'll carry both our bloodlines. Who might have the Lunar Mark. Who'll grow up in a world we're still building. A world that's better than the one that tried to break us. Darius's hand covered hers on her stomach. Our child won't be rejected for being different. Won't be told they're broken or wrong. No. Sera's smile was fierce. Our child will be celebrated. Loved. Given every choice we were denied. Through the crown bond, they felt each other's certainty. Their absolute faith that they could do this. Could raise a child in this dangerous, beautiful, impossible world they were creating. I love you, Darius said. More than I thought I could love anything. I love you too. Sera pulled him down for a kiss. My king. My partner. My everything. Below them, the fortress began to wake. Warriors preparing for the day. Sera's pack stirring through their bonds. The world continuing its messy, chaotic, hopeful existence. And in Crescent Moon Pack, 3 territories away, Marcus Kane sat in his dwelling, staring at reports of the Bloodborne Queen. The mate he'd rejected. The wolf he'd called broken. Now the most powerful force in the territories. Bonded to the Alpha King. Carrying his child. Marcus had lost everything chasing what he thought was strength. His position had diminished. Vivian had left him for a more promising mate. He was alone, forgotten, irrelevant. While Sera Blackwood, the wolfless, powerless reject, had become a legend. He touched the place on his chest where their bond had once existed. The empty space ached like a phantom limb. I was a fool, he whispered to the empty room. But Sera never heard it. Never thought of him. She'd moved beyond the pain he'd caused. Built something beautiful from the ashes of his rejection. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. At Shadow Peak, Lyra brought breakfast to the balcony. The young servant who'd become one of Sera's most trusted pack members. The council delegation arrives in an hour, she said. They want to discuss expanding the Lunar Arbiter program. Training other mediators. Not other Bloodborns, Sera clarified. There are no others. But other wolves who can sense bonds, help heal them. She smiled. We're building something new. We are, Darius agreed. A world where power serves the pack instead of the pack serving power. Through the bonds, Sera felt her 473 wolves. Felt their love. Their trust. Their absolute faith in the future they were building together. The little girl from Clearwater Pack was among them. Healing. Growing stronger. She'd asked to call Sera Mama last week, and Sera had cried for an hour. Tyler had found a mate. Myra was training new warriors. Dante had actually smiled, at a joke yesterday. Vivienne was still imprisoned but had become almost cordial, teaching Sera everything she knew about Bloodborne history. Even Elder Magnus had visited, offering wisdom and support. The world was changing. Slowly. Imperfectly. But changing nonetheless. What are you thinking? Darius asked, feeling her emotions swirl through the bond. That 6 months ago, I was kneeling before the moon altar, convinced I was nothing. Broken. Worthless. Sera looked at him, her silver eyes bright. And now I'm here. Queen. Arbiter. Mother-to-be. Everything I never knew I could be. You were always these things. You just needed the right pack to see them. No. Sera took his hand, placing it over her heart. Over the lunar mark that had rewritten her fate. I needed to see them in myself. The rejection didn't break me, Darius. It freed me. Gave me the chance to become who I was always meant to be. She looked out over the territory. Over the wolves training in the courtyard. Over the mountains that had become her home. The Alpha's claim, she whispered. That's what they're calling our story. How you claimed me from the rejection ceremony. But it was never about you claiming me. No. Darius's smile was soft. No. It was about me claiming myself. My power. My worth. My right to exist as something other than what others expected. She turned to face him fully. You didn't save me, Darius Stormborn. You gave me the space to save myself. Then we saved each other. She agreed. And as the sun rose higher, painting the territory in gold and silver light, Sera Blackwood Stormborn placed her hand on her stomach, feeling the tiny spark of life growing there. A new generation. A new beginning. The first pup born to a crown bond in 300 years. The world would watch this child grow. Would wonder if they carried the lunar mark. Would fear or hope or judge. But Sera wasn't afraid anymore. Because whatever challenges came, she wouldn't face them alone. She had Darius. Had her pack. Had allies who'd become family and enemies who'd become teachers. She had everything she needed. And more importantly, she had herself. The rejection had meant to destroy her. Instead, it had forged her into something unbreakable. Something beautiful. Something that would change the werewolf world forever. Thank you for joining me on Sera and Darius's incredible journey. From the ashes of rejection at the moon altar to the triumph of claiming her crown, Sera's story proves that sometimes the worst moments of our lives are actually doorways to our greatest transformations. If you loved watching Sera rise from rejected mate to powerful queen, from broken girl to unshakable force, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Alpha's Claim, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was your favorite moment? When Sera refused to claim the dying boy and honored his autonomy? When she showed Ronan's warriors the truth instead of enslaving them? Or when she freed Morgana instead of destroying her? And most importantly, what do you think happens when Sera's baby is born? Will they carry the lunar mark? Until next time, my beautiful wolves, remember, rejection isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your power. The moment someone tells you you're not enough is the moment you get to decide who you really are. Keep choosing love over fear. Keep choosing growth over vengeance. Keep building packs based on choice instead of control. And never, ever let anyone tell you that being different means being broken. Stay wild. Stay strong. Stay true to yourself. See you in the next story. The end.